everyone. My name is Destiny Diamond, and I am here with my co-host, Mr. August Blaze. This is the Believe Wrestling podcast, and we have so much to talk about after so much chaos. We have Backlash recap, we have Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown recaps, heartbreaking news, as well as exciting news. August, talk to me.
Yeah. It's going to be a show. It's going to be a show tonight. I am August Boggust, also known as August Blaze. You're welcome. Trademark pending, but we have a lot to catch up on. We didn't cover Backlash yet, and that was 2 weeks ago. So we got 2 Raws, we got a SmackDown, and we got a Backlash to recap. So we are going to be blazing trails and making our way through this recap nice and quickly and snappy for you. So I'm going to grab another pen because I lost one while trying to use it as a mustache, and we are going to get into the Backlash recap there. I hit the wrong page.
Sounds good, and before we hop into it, I have some exciting breaking news. As you guys can see, I am in my new podcast space with all of my WWE Magazine posters from the years of the glory days. We've got WrestleMania 30, Raw 1000, and so many icons here behind me.
What?
And I am proud to announce, I am proud to announce that my half of this podcast is being sponsored by Pink Room Studio Productions. Pink Room Studio Productions is a live event production company specializing in high-end VIP-style photography, videography, lighting, and production of anything that you might need. We are certified, we are bona fide, and we are excited to bring high-class quality to our clients, and I am so excited to have lighting and sound courtesy of PRSP.
PRSP. Not to one-up you there, I'm sponsored by Friend, the Coke Zero can. Pretty good. They started putting labels on these things of friend, bro, sis, homie. I got a couple homies. This is the first time in my life I've had homies, and it's not racist, so you're welcome. Getting into the Backlash recap before I get canceled. We got...
So much happened.
4 matches. A lot happened in 4 matches. First off, the Fatal 4-Way match between Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu, and LA Knight. Yeah.
The man we've been hyping up all podcast.
I don't know about hyping up. Yeah. But we also had a debut here with Jeff Cobb making his debut. And within 72 hours or whatever it was, Jeff Cobb no longer exists. He is now JC Mateo. That's the WWE for you.
Listen, everybody's hating on it. I honestly don't hate the name. I mean, here's the thing. Legally speaking, you do gotta change up the names. I mean, they went from Eli Drake to LA Knight.
Yeah.
LA to, from Eli to LA. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Okay.
I have to say, JC Mateo is not the worst name, especially if you look at the talent in NXT right now. Just saying.
Jesus Christ Mateo is not the worst name you've ever heard of. Okay. We're fighting
Cena Mateo.
Jesus Christ Mateo. We're fighting
John
later.
Cena Mateo.
We're fighting later. The match was pretty solid. There was some solid action here. I think the big stories coming out of this are McIntyre and Priest, obviously kind of continuing their feud there, which I do like to see.
No surprises there.
I'm very happy that feud is continuing, and we will talk about that more later as we get into the Saturday night's main event predictions. But, I was very happy to see that continue. Jeff Cobb, I'm not very familiar with his work. I haven't seen a Jeff Cobb match, so I'm excited to kind of get to see how this advances the Solo Sikoa Jacob Fatu storyline. That's kind of they've had some tensions brewing there, and you could definitely tell on Fatu's face that he was not happy about Jeff Cobb making his debut because it doesn't look like he was informed beforehand of what was about to happen. But he does walk out with his championship retained. Jacob Fatu is still your United States champion.
You know, I have to admit, I am really excited. I also have not seen a Jeff Cobb match, but I have seen quite a few highlights on the internet across the Twitter sphere. So, from what I understand, he is somewhat similar to the athleticism of a Jacob Fatu with the build of Rhino, which is super exciting to see. But we're going to touch on this later in the pod, but he is also, just like a lot of the superstars that we've been talking about recently, he is up there in years. If I'm not mistaken, he's already in his 40s, if 42 from what I remember reading. So I know we've talked about a lot of the big stars, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, especially the up-and-coming main event stars being in that older area, how great it is for them to still be getting the opportunity, but also where does their career go if they're already at that age? How much more do they have, longevity speaking?
Yeah, I agree with that point wholeheartedly there. Unfortunately for Jeff Cobb, I do think he is mostly going to be used as a tool to kind of further this story between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. And for the most part, I don't think he's going to serve much more of a purpose outside of that. I mean, you look at Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa is only 32 years old. Pretty damn young. He's 10 years younger than Jeff Cobb. So we could have 10 years of Solo Sikoa wrestling from where he is now, furthering his career another 10 years, and then he's at the point Jeff Cobb is at now. And that's kind of the point I have in this whole thing, because I do think you can be an older wrestler, but Jeff Cobb he's 6 years younger than John Cena, who's retiring this year as the greatest of all time. So you really look at how much mileage. It's not even about, because he still has he could have another good 8 years left. The problem is it takes 5 years to build yourself up to be that main event status. And the question is it worth it then at that point? You spend 5 years building him up. Now you have him for 2 to 3 years left in his career. Or should you put that energy into Solo Sikoa, who you spend 5 years on, and now he's 37, and you got 10 years left of superstardom for a main event level player. So I do think that is a big point that kind of goes into it. I also want to know Jacob Fatu's age real quick. He's 33 years old. So Jacob and Solo are very close to each other. And yeah, I feel like these two should definitely be the focus. I feel like Solo is not getting a lot of love right now. And Solo should be getting a lot of love right now. I fucking love Solo Sikoa. People are forgetting why. Tell me why people should not love fucking Solo Sikoa.
Listen, Solo Sikoa is fine, but he is nowhere near the talent that is Jacob Fatu. I mean, the things that man can do in the ring are otherworldly, interstellar, absolutely insane. Also, the way that he was able to take 3 words, I love you, 4 words, Solo. The way that he was able to take 4 words and get over with just those 4 words.
Okay, but it wasn't
screaming it at the top of his lungs is fantastic, paired with his athleticism. Also, listen, Solo's a great character, but his character is all over the place, from being the up-and-coming next tribal chief to being this weird, strange, comedic character, like, wannabe, and it's kind of, they're trying to mesh the 2 worlds right now, and I'm not really digging it. I just think that he needs to get back to his roots and continue to kick ass and absolutely dominate the way that he did in NXT and when he was first brought up. Because like you said, when he first came up, Roman Reigns feared Solo Sikoa. Nothing about him right now makes me feel that way, would make Roman Reigns feel that way, or makes any other member of the Anoa'i Fatu family feel that way. So I want to see a change up with Solo Sikoa. And I want him to be more serious or fully commit to the comedic act.
Which is why I love Solo, because he's in a transition right now. He can't go back to being serious Solo Sikoa for one reason and one reason only, and that's Jacob. Okay, I didn't know what was happening there for a second.
Hi, everyone. Someone wants to say hi. Come here.
She has a dog, so that's what's going on there. Don't worry about it. That's an Australian Shepherd?
This is a mini Australian Shepherd named Bingo, and he's the love of my life.
I didn't know it was an Australian Shepherd. It's pretty good. That's my favorite kind of dog. I really love Australian Shepherds.
You need to
Does he have a
see
tail?
Your nephew. No, he does not.
Yeah, that's a whole thing with Australian Shepherds. Most of them don't have a tail. Wild. It's like a little
Crazy.
stub.
His sister does, though. Yeah, his sister has one. Doesn't she? Does Willow have a tail?
So, well, Destiny is loving on her dog. I will continue my point here about Solo. My big thing is Solo can't go back to a serious character. It was great when he debuted. He had that aura. He was dangerous. He was scary. Then he transitioned out of that phase because he wanted to be the leader. He didn't want to be the Batista anymore, so to speak, with all the evolution talk going on. He wanted to be the Triple H. He wanted to be the brain power behind it. And so he surrounded himself with his Usos, which were Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga. And then he got himself a Solo Sikoa, which was Jacob Fatu, and his job was to be Roman Reigns. The problem was he wasn't ready to be Roman Reigns. And I love that as his character, because if they pushed him as the next Roman Reigns, it would not have worked. So now his character is in that state of flux where he failed. We get to see his failure live on screen, and now he's scrambling to get back because now his Solo Sikoa has surpassed him, and he has to struggle with that. It's instead of just continuing the bloodline cycle, and now he's the dominant force, and Jacob has to defeat him, it's a whole new twisted element of it, of Solo's the man who's a step out of place, who wasn't as great as the others, and now he has to work his way back up towards that. And that's how this babyface turn that they're not even teasing. It's more of he's going to be heel and Jacob's going to be the babyface. But it's this, you can sympathize towards Solo when they get to that point and they want you to feel that. It's going to be easy to attach to that emotion, in my opinion, because Solo was the guy who was out of step and he got rushed past by, and now he's bringing in Jeff Cobb, and hopefully maybe he can get the Tongas back and he can be that Roman Reigns and he could take the title because now he has Jeff Cobb as his Solo Sikoa enforcer. But now Jacob is the one who's on the other side of that, and now he fears Jacob, and it puts Jacob over as a superstar way more than Jacob would be right now without Solo Sikoa.
No, funny enough, you mentioned evolution. It's very reminiscent of when Randy Orton won the World Heavyweight Championship. That jealousy that Triple H felt brewing inside of him, that's what's happening with this United States Championship victory for Jacob Fatu, and he has his mentor, he has his leader, Solo Sikoa, brewing in the background.
So I'm still, Solo's one of my favorite members of the original bloodline, of the current bloodline, of everything. Your boy loves Solo Sikoa. I think he has limitless amounts of, his roof could end anywhere. His ceiling could stop anywhere. He's hell of a talent, and I'm excited to see him continue this growth, which we will touch upon because he's coming up later here tonight in our discussions.
Something that I do want to touch on is, based on how he has been presented recently, I absolutely, comparatively speaking, I love Solo Sikoa, and I see so much more potential in him than I ever saw in the Usos back 10, 12, 15 years ago. So if Jey Uso can become World Heavyweight Champion, the sky's the limit for Solo Sikoa.
Yeah, Jimmy and Jey had the unfortunate trait that they were twins. And so you're always going to have if there's a fast twin, that means there's a slow twin. If there's a pretty twin, there's an ugly twin. And it's the same thing with brothers close in age. We saw it with Matt Hardy. And how Matt was forced to be the other, and how Jimmy is being forced to be the other right now. And it's the unfortunate
Have you ever seen
aspect.
Total Divas? If you've ever seen Total Divas, you know that Jimmy is fine as hell.
That's fine, but who's the world champion right now?
You said there's an ugly twin, and I have to admit, you're wrong.
I didn't say the ugly twin was Jimmy.
You didn't not say it.
Okay, well, Destiny's trying to put words in my mouth, so let's just avoid that. Let's go to the next topic here, though, because of my girl.
Mind blown.
One match of the night. This match was fucking incredible, and it was everything I wanted it to be, and I am so happy. I am so happy she beat Becky Lynch.
You were happy to be wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
oh, yeah.
Here's the thing. Like we talked about how there needed to be a babyface win. I know we did say that it could be Lyra for whatever God-given reason it may have been. But I'm just shocked that Becky didn't come out and beat Lyra to add some relevance to this championship. Now, granted, Lyra is carrying this championship beautifully, but it does need that big-time rub from big-time Bex. I am shocked it didn't happen, but I also see Becky having a rematch and getting another shot at the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I don't hate Lyra. The growth that she has had during her reign is phenomenal, and the presentation has only gotten better. I'm just flabbergasted that they would not only have her be victorious at Backlash, that shocked me first, but now she's continuing to go after Becky Lynch.
Okay, what?
Girl, you already won.
Okay, but she got blindsided, attacked after winning by Becky, and as the valiant babyface who issued this challenge to Becky didn't weasel her way into a match. Lyra challenged her to a match and said, "I will defend my title against you." Lyra proved she was the better woman that night, but she didn't win clean, nice 1-2-3, nice and easy, definitive. She won with a roll-up type maneuver. She didn't get a definitive 1-2-3 finish where Becky was out cold and she is the better woman. She was the better woman for a moment. And so she still has something to prove, especially after Becky blindsided her and beat the shit out of her. So now she got her moment stolen from Becky. Now she steals Becky's moment. And we will talk about that when we do the Raw recap there. But
I'm just so glad. I'm just so glad that this is continuing because these two are making magic together and it's only elevating the star that is Lyra Valkyria. Still not her biggest fan. That is your gimmick.
I absolutely love Lyra. This is why I love this podcast, though, because
love her. Do you love her? Do you love her enough to get her name right?
Yeah.
You keep saying Lyra.
Lyra Valkyria. You happy now?
Thank you. I'm never happy.
Yeah, I am well aware of that. Why I love this podcast is because, despite how well we bicker a lot, despite how well me and Destiny get along, we could not be more polar opposites in terms of views and opinions and who we love and who we despise.
We both love Big Time Bex, how dare you?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I want her to win. I have a thing. Destiny very much likes her favorites to win, which makes sense. I kind of like my favorites to lose a lot of the time. Every now and then there's like a moment where I'm like, they need to win this. But a lot of times I like to see my favorites lose because that's one of my favorite moments of, yeah, I just saw my hero fail, but now I get to see my hero build themselves back up. I get to see the meteoric climb back, which is one of my favorite parts of wrestling. And it's why Shawn Michaels is probably my all-time favorite, is because he was the best loser. In the second half of his career, he was, every time he had a big match, after 2002, he failed. He was never world champion again. He was a never singles champion again. So getting to see him fall off that horse and then have to do that slow climb back to the top was just it's my absolute favorite thing in wrestling. So I do love Becky.
Admittedly, I did love it when Becky, who is one of my favorites, and Lyra lost the tag team championships. It needed to happen. I also love watching Grayson Waller win because he's such a shit and I love him. Anyway, please continue.
Dom versus Penta was a pretty damn good match. Pretty short. It's shown on the shorter side. It wasn't like a squash match or anything. But it was very... it was fine. They had some really cool spots. Dom is coming into his own. I'm not the biggest fan of Penta. I like him.
Can't relate.
I am a huge fan of Dom, and I did really like this. I think the finish tied in decently well. The big issue with it is 4 out of 5 matches on the card had interference or had people running to the ring mid-match. Match 1, of course, the Jeff Cobb Solo Sikoa drama. Match 2 was the only one that didn't have interference. Match 3, we had Judgment Day and El Grande Americano. Then match 4, we had Michael Cole, of all people. And then match 5, we had half the goddamn officials who work for the company and R-Truth. So we'll talk more about that as we get to those later matches, but it was definitely...
Absolutely.
The fact that this was the second time it happened out of 3 matches, I was already like, okay, we're at the well. Let's not do this anymore, and we'll talk about it.
And then it continued.
But
Yes.
I did like
Yeah.
Finn kind of teasing. Finn's at this wonderful place, especially in this match, where he can play it both ways, where either, oops, that's my bad, hey, but you still won the match. But it could also be genuinely, oops, I'm sorry, like, I thought a chair would be more effective. He could 100% be genuine about this, or this could have been him trying to look like he made a mistake, but he's really trying to cost Dom the championship. So I really love that. And ultimately, El Grande costing Penta the title was a very, very nice touch here as well. I did love that.
Honestly, El Grande Americano is currently one of, if not my favorite superstar on Raw right now. He is absolutely phenomenal. He can do no wrong, and he's the current Speed champion. It is so cool seeing the story that they're telling with American-made El Grande Americano, Penta, and all the other luchadors, and also the slight involvement from Judgment Day. Obviously, it is so cool to see the dynamics that are intertwined within this rivalry and all of the rivalries surrounding it. I am loving the story that they're telling. I'm loving the chicken shit heel of a good El Grande Americano. I'm loving everything that is coming to him. I'm excited to see where it finally culminates and where we finally get the big payoff. But right now, I'm just enjoying the ride while we're on it, and I'm loving how he keeps going after Penta night after night after night, because that just shows that Penta is the top luchador in WWE right now, and El Grande Americano is coming for his spot.
Yeah, I really do love that. Now, what I do find interesting is it's kind of funny that El Grande Americano has now, it was supposed to be Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. Of course, the injury happened, but he ended up facing Rey Fenix. So I do find that kind of funny because now he has this whole thing with Penta at the same time. So it is kind of funny that he got to fight both the brothers there. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Now, Gunther McAfee. Destiny, what were your thoughts on this match and the aftermath and everything that happened within?
So, obviously, I'm shocked by how well of a fight Pat McAfee put up, but also, I think the biggest shock, there are two big shocks for me, two bigger shocks. So, something I want to touch on is how much you and I stressed that this was the way to write Pat McAfee off of television and get him off into the sunset to do whatever project it is he needs to do. Great, awesome, fine, perfect, do it. Whenever Pat McAfee steps in the ring, we always get a show-stealing match and a show-stealing moment. He is an absolute phenomenal entertainer. He can hold his own in the ring, which is phenomenal. Obviously, it's scary putting him in with a Gunther of all people because he is the ring general. This is sacred to him. He is as like salt of the earth, like stereotypical. He is as wrestler becomes, and so it is like the wrestler of all wrestlers versus the sports entertainer of all sports entertainers combining to have this moment, which is fantastic. I didn't know how it was going to go with McAfee's lack of experience. I have to tell you, thought it was fantastic. I do have to say, I wasn't the biggest fan, and we've talked about me not being a fan of certain things, but I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of a man like Gunther coming out and, or not necessarily, just standing up and shaking Pat McAfee's hand afterwards to show him respect. Because, in my opinion, all Pat McAfee does is shit all over what Gunther finds to be sacred. He is, like I said, sports entertainment. Gunther is wrestling. And Pat McAfee comes out yeeting, and he's high as a kite on commentary, and he is constantly making jokes and laughing and having fun, where Gunther takes this as serious gets. So, the fact that he shook his hand after the match threw me off. But what threw me off even more is Pat McAfee is on commentary 2 nights later, and is continuing to be on commentary every Monday night, moving forward. He's still there. They didn't write him off. He didn't die. McAfee didn't die at the hands of Gunther. Like, he didn't die! Gunther didn't smack him into oblivion. He didn't chop him into oblivion. I'm honestly shocked by that. Not mad at it, because I do love Pat McAfee. He's phenomenal at what he does, but I'm just like, what was the point, then, of putting him in the ring with Gunther? I mean, it was great. It was entertaining. It was fun. But there are so many other superstars on the card, on the roster, that deserve to be on the card. And having that match just felt unnecessary, especially when you only get 5 matches per pay-per-view.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. That we talked about how this pay-per-view needed more stakes to it. And the fact that this match was we could have had a solid number one contenders match here, Gunther versus somebody else, especially considering what happens in the Raws after this, as opposed to Gunther versus McAfee. It's just so. I had the same issue with this. I didn't mind how much offense McAfee got. I wasn't mad at how long the match went, just because for the most part it was 95% Gunther. The story was Gunther was having fun destroying McAfee, and McAfee would come back and surprise him with how resilient he was. Cute, great, it's fine. Right. I wasn't mad.
Yeah.
The handshake at the end pissed me off pretty bad.
Yep.
And it was just because everything Destiny just said about what Gunther stands for, and even though he's been kind of playing at being in this tweener role for, maybe I am, maybe I don't have to be the bad guy, essentially. Maybe I can be the good guy. And that's fine, but against McAfee just doesn't make sense why he would suddenly cool off and then shake his hand after this match. He didn't have to destroy him, but just walk away without shaking his hand, I think would have sent a much clearer message. But instead it's, okay, you have my respect, even though I just beat the holy shit out of you. Is not the killer bad guy you really want Gunther to be. And it really makes me curious as to... We'll talk more about this as we get into Raw and the promos that he cut against, like, the whole Logan Paul situation and the Jey Uso situation. So we'll talk more about that coming up. So we'll stick a pin in it for now, but there's something going on with Gunther that I'm very curious about.
I do think that it does stem from his loss at WrestleMania, specifically the fact that he tapped out. He's in that weird headspace because of it.
Yeah, and the fact that he locked in several chokeholds or sleeper holds on McAfee, and McAfee lasted a hell of a lot longer than Gunther did.
Yeah.
Cena versus Orton.
Yeah.
I can say I was pleasantly surprised how well this match ended up doing. I was pretty happy with what I got. I didn't walk away from this disappointed. And I really love the kind of setups we have story-wise moving forward. Because my big concern was... Not my big concern, but one of my bigger concerns was... What happens next for Orton out of this? Because I really want Orton Rhodes sooner rather than later. I don't want Orton getting buried, getting shoved back to the bottom of the card, or something happening. Like, Orton needs something interesting. And the fact that he RKO'd Aldis again during this, all the officials came out from the back and Orton just RKO'd like 9 people in a row. It was great, including Aldis.
So good.
And so that was such a great moment because now that kind of gives Orton a direction. When he comes back, now Aldis is going to have a bone to pick with him. And it gives Orton something to sink his teeth into, as this is a GM who has been a neutral GM. This isn't a bad guy, but he's definitely not a good guy either. He's not a Teddy Long kind of GM where he's always sticking it to the heels and making them go one-on-one with the Undertaker. No. This is a very middle-of-the-road, fair is fair general manager. But now maybe he has a vendetta against Orton, and what does that vendetta going to look like? We get to see that, and I'm really excited to get to see that story play out. And then, of course, Cena and R-Truth coming out to save his hero, which is what ended up costing Orton this match. Destiny, before we get into the kind of finish and the press conference afterwards, these are your boys. Talk to me here.
These are my boys.
What you thinking?
I mean, you see it right there. Like, those are my 2 guys. I have 3 cardboard cutouts right over there in that corner. 1 is John Cena, 2 are Randy Orton. These are my boys, right? Excuse me. I have to say, not disappointed in this match, especially with how it started out. Cena going for the handshake, like, 20 years, man. 20 years, may the best man win. Puts his hand out there. Orton hesitates, but agrees, shakes his hand. Thumb to the eye. Phenomenal. Love it. I did truly enjoyed this matchup. I really did. I mean, what is there to be said? I absolutely, because this is one thing that you and I passionately agree upon, and that is the greatness that is R-Truth and how much we love him. I have always loved the John Cena's my childhood hero aspect of his character and how that has played an extra role within these last few years. Seeing him come out had me rolling on the floor. I honestly didn't expect it. I know I probably should have with how much he's been brought up and how much he's been involved recently and how vocal he's been about his hero, John Cena. Like, I should have seen it coming, but honestly, I didn't think he would get involved, at least not yet, at least not in this match. But seeing him come out and block the punt kick was super duper cool, and I love how he basically chose afterwards to celebrate this moment with John. Like, hey, buddy, we did it! We did this, and how... Obviously, we'll talk about how that ended, but I thought that it was truly beautiful to see this set up because this is a match that we haven't had in a while. And to be fair, it's kind of a match we've never had because obviously we had the feud with a babyface John Cena and a heel R-Truth way back in the day. And this was an R-Truth that I literally thought would murder John Cena. Like, that's how terrified I was of him. This is the character that he had built up at that time. And now having heel Cena versus the man who idolized him throughout his entire childhood in R-Truth, that's a story that I'm so excited that they are actually going to put the time into exploring and how that's going to happen at Saturday night's main event. I mean, could you think of a more perfect pay-per-view for it? No, I'm still saying pay-per-view. I'm not saying PLA because it's stupid. But it's the perfect way to capitalize on R-Truth's years of comedic genius and finally give him the spotlight that he deserves. He's going to be facing the WWE champion, the GOAT, the 17th time. Like, this is the moment that R-Truth has deserved for so long for making us laugh all these years. I'm excited for it, and I'm ready for all the hilariousness that is going to be happening moving forward.
One thing I wanted to shout out Triple H for is, which I didn't mention, especially between the Orton Aldis, is how much more alive the product feels. A lot of times when they're doing backstage segments, you can see other characters backstage talking to each other that you get payoff for later. And the fact that it's very prominent on Raw right now with the whole Sami Zayn, CM Punk, how every story transitions from one to the next, and it's not these two guys are fighting and these two guys are fighting. Well, now these two guys are fighting and now these two guys are fighting. Instead, it's almost a transition from I have an issue to you, I have an issue with both of you, now I have an issue with you. A la like CM Punk Seth Rollins turned into CM Punk Drew McIntyre turned back into CM Punk Seth Rollins. And how that kind of transitions in and out, and how we see friendships and we see the WWE feels so much more alive. And now I'm asking the same question for Truth that I asked for Aldis, is what's next for R-Truth after this match with John Cena. And one thing I find really interesting is all these segments we've seen him backstage with, it's Jimmy Uso in R-Truth. So I'm excited I'm excited to get to see how that kind of circles back around. Because I love Jimmy, and I'm excited. I love the Usos so much. You don't even know. Me and Destiny have been fighting about this since 2017. I have been a fan of the Usos. Destiny is not.
I gotta tell you, man. Well, listen, I haven't been a fan that long, obviously. I am a big fan. But I think that something that's so great is that people consider Jimmy Uso to be the, and I quote, most unserious wrestler in WWE with all of his nonsense that was happening with Roman and with the bloodline. But to have him coming face-to-face with the actual most unserious man in WWE history, I'm excited to see the stories they tell and the promos they do and maybe even... I wanted to go to a rap battle of some kind, because obviously R-Truth does rap, and then of course the Usos had that infamous rap battle with the New Day, and how that went, and I would love to see just any sort of comedic genius moment like that happen between these two, because they are so funny, and they are so talented. I'm excited. Something I want to touch on, though, is you were talking about how alive it feels. I also want to touch on the fact that there are so many Easter eggs that are happening. because you have all of these intertwining things, especially in the backstage segments, and you see, you're not supposed to seeing it, people talking behind the people that are being interviewed, the people that are walking out of rooms together. It started with Dom and Liv, and you have Karrion Kross and The New Day, and you have Roxanne and Finn that's now being brought forward onto our actual television screens and not just speculation. So you're giving the audience something extra to sink their teeth into and to really search for, to make them pay an extra attention, because it's like, oh, what am I going to find next? What are they going to put in front of me that I'm not actually seeing? And how can I piece it together to see what's going to happen next? And it's so fun, and I love that extra piece that's being given to the hardcore fans.
It's a really nice touch. So, as Destiny kind of touched upon there, R-Truth did cost Orton this match. Wasn't a huge fan of the finish of... I really wanted Orton to kick out at this moment. The same way I wanted Rhodes to kick out at this moment at Mania. The delayed ref getting
Referee
in place kills me every single time. It feels like it needs to be a false finish there, and then Cena should win with an attitude adjustment. Cena should still be winning these, or make him pass out with the STF or tap out with the STF. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. But I'm going to hit you with a title shot, and I can't even remember if he hits an AA after that, or if it's just the title shot and he wins the match.
I want to say he did, but here's the thing, I've been wrong before.
It's just so... And then the ref takes 30 seconds to get into place, counts the 1, 2, 3, and it's just such a deflating way to at least pump the audience up one more time. Have Orton kick out, and then the audience goes, oh shit, maybe Orton's going to win. And then Cena picks him up, destroys our dreams right there, and then 1, 2, 3. And Orton doesn't look weak for not kicking out 30 seconds after being hit with something. Or Rhodes as well. But we do touch upon here the press conference as well. As Cena was doing the press conference, R-Truth came out and tried to kind of celebrate with Cena, in which Cena then put him through the press conference table, setting up
It was fantastic.
It was pretty good. It was pretty... I wish the people in the press conference room sold it more. It was just dead silence. If I was in that room, motherfuckers, oh my god, call a doctor. Somebody call a doctor. Like, make some noise.
Oh, for the love of God, how could he do this?
If we were in that room, we would have been kicked out so quick.
This is why we need press passes, I'm just saying.
That's not
No, what I thought was so cool is how recently, obviously in the last several months, John Cena just comes in and he says, I'm not taking questions, I'm going to say my words. Or he's like, I'm only here so I don't get fined. Or, he comes in, he's like, hello, drops the mic, leaves. This time he sits down and he says, I've not been fair to you guys. I've been hard on you guys. I'm going to be, a proper champion, and I'm going to take your questions now. And before the person can even finish their first question, that's when R-Truth comes out. And he's like, yeah, no, we did it. And what I found was an interesting touch was when John looked at him, he said, Ron? He called him by his real name. And I just think that it's poetic that John and Ron rhyme. But yeah, that attitude adjustment through the table was fantastic. But I didn't even think about it. But yeah, can you imagine if we were in that room? Oh man, we'd be trouble.
It would have been pretty good. So that brings Backlash to a close. I do have another thing I want to touch on in regards to John Cena. But we will mention that here in a little bit. I have it on the current wrestling news slide, so we will bring it up there. But we are going to check out the Raw, SmackDown, Raw recaps now. And there was a lot to kind of touch upon. First off, McAfee stays, which we kind of touched upon there, but it was a big point where McAfee came out. He kind of said, hey, look at this. I got a burst blood vessel in my eye. Gunther was a warrior. I had to get cleared to come out here and be in front of the audience today. So, he kind of selling those injuries, but I was very shocked here that McAfee is sticking around for the foreseeable future. I really thought this was a way to write him off of television.
And I thought, something that I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of, he didn't kick off the show on commentary. He made his entrance, during a match. Like, not necessarily the middle of the match, but the superstars were in the ring when he was coming out, and it's like, sir, wait your turn.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, what can you do? You do.
AJ Styles, Finn Balor, proven they still got it here. I just dropped another pen. What is wrong with me? Proven they still got it here. Pretty insane. It wasn't the most phenomenal match in the world, pun intended, but it was just a solid showing for both men for the time that they were given. I really enjoyed this match.
How can you complain when you have the two leaders of the Bullet Club facing off? I mean, the history that they have and the matches that they've had, boy, yeah. It was solid for a random Monday Night Raw. I loved it, and I'm excited to see where this story goes moving forward. Something I do want to touch on, I recently saw a tweet about AJ Styles and how he had previously said he wants to retire when he's 50. AJ Styles is 48 years old.
Yep.
So we all need to take a moment and truly cherish the time that we have with this man while we have him. Whether or not he truly does retire at 50 still remains to be seen, of course. But we really need to soak up all of the AJ Styles that we can and drink it in, man. Because that man, when he's gone, that is going to be a big void that no one's going to be able to fill.
Yeah. Styles is, it just sucks because I wonder who's going to step up in that. I feel like it's Finn Balor, honestly, because Balor's kind of segmented those years lower, where you have, I call it the Dolph Ziggler position, where it's the former world champion who at any point in time could win the big one. They put on stellar matches. They are so good at putting over that next level talent. And in doing so, that's all they're really going to do. Is you look at the number of times somebody has won the title, and one of their first feuds is AJ Styles. It happened to Roman Reigns. It just happened to Cody Rhodes. AJ's just that good. So pushing those people to the next level, that's what Ziggler was there for. When Ziggler left, they kind of pushed Styles into that position, and I feel like that's kind of where Finn is, but Finn's been a lot more back burner in recent years, and I feel like once Styles retires, Finn is going to kind of step more into that role and get more television time, but he's definitely going to be used, for the most part, just to put people over.
I really want to see them run AJ Styles, John Cena back on this retirement tour. That is an international PLE, PPV main event.
The problem is we only have, I think we're going to talk about that next podcast, maybe, because Destiny brought up that, like, they confirmed pay-per-view dates and everything. So we're going to kind of go through and try to predict who Cena's last pay-per-view matches are going to be, because there's not a lot, if we're being honest. There's only a handful, so pretty exciting to kind of check that out. So
only 6. So we will touch on that when we touch on that.
Look forward to that. What we're touching upon now, though, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky.
Holy Moses. I'm loving this. I'm digging this. Their tag team match that they had last week against Julia and Roxanne is a perfect presentation of the incredible talent and star power on the women's division. Now, it does shock me that after all that she's done in the last month, Julia has officially signed with SmackDown. And Roxanne is officially on Raw. I'm not mad.
I love that they're separated. I love that they're separated because I really felt like it was going to kind of hinder both of their growth. I didn't want them as a tag team. They were good as a tag team, but I didn't want them as a tag team because individually, telling these stories, it's as a tag team later in their career, absolutely. I think they can come back and they can revisit that, or they can kind of tease it in Royal Rumbles, whatever you want to do, because we now have that piece of history of, hey, these two women have worked together before. Maybe they can do it again in the future. But I'm so happy that each woman kind of gets their own little spotlight right now to kind of highlight them moving forward.
And they absolutely deserve it, don't get me wrong. And it's not that I'm mad she's on SmackDown. I think that it was just so abrupt because she's been on Raw for weeks. And Roxanne's been on Raw for weeks. And then all of a sudden, Julia just shows up. She's never been on SmackDown before. Oh, look at your newest superstar. At least with Roxanne, it made sense because she's made hella appearances on Monday Night Raw. So it makes sense that she's on Monday Night Raw. But, I mean, like I said, not complaining. I think that is the next big thing in the women's division. I don't even think that there's any contest. I mean, Stephanie is competition, but she's not Julia. I truly believe that Julia is the next big star in the women's division. And I know that that's a bold claim because I love Stephanie and I know everyone else on the internet does. But Julia is the one to watch.
I'm pretty sure the one to watch is actually Lyra Valkyria. Thank you very much.
Get out. Get out!
But I do love this whole hesitation friendship between Ripley and Io, and how
So
Ripley's
good.
kind of like, okay, you're quirky, I kind of like you, but you have something I kind of like a lot more. And how Io is just full into this fun-loving, like her whole crazy ear thing has taken the fan base by storm. It's like the new Yeet. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm really happy with how both of these women are sitting. I really want Rhea to kind of ease her way out of the title picture. And I hope that happens at Money in the Bank. A name I didn't throw out there when we did our WrestleMania predictions, which I'm kind of mad I didn't. I would love to see Ronda Rousey, Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania next year. So
Okay.
I would love that. I mentioned Beth Phoenix, which I still would absolutely love that matchup too, but I wouldn't be mad at a Ronda Rousey, Rhea Ripley. Whew! The double R versus the double R. Let's fucking go.
Let's go. I'm
sick.
sweating up in here.
That'd be
That's
sick.
so good. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm not mad at that. I
Now,
like it.
we touched upon Triple H's ability to kind of world build his stories and how the entire locker room feels a lot more cohesive in the sense of, like, I feel like every superstar has a relationship to every other superstar. It's not just, oh, these two guys fought a year ago and they never talk, they never interact. Like, if Rey Mysterio's in trouble, people who like Rey Mysterio come out to help Rey Mysterio. It makes sense. I love that. And one of the big ways this shows, which I love, and it's really adamant around Royal Rumble season, is we build to multiple optional matches at the same time. And that's what we're doing right now with, they've teased Seth Rollins, Logan Paul. They've teased Seth Rollins, Gunther. They've teased Seth Rollins, Jey Uso. Then they've teased Gunther, Jey Uso. So there are so many different paths that this story could take, and we have no idea who. I'm pretty sure. I think we're all obviously it's going to be Uso retaining his title at Saturday night's main event. We'll touch upon that in the predictions there, but regardless of coming out of that, we have no idea what the plan is for who's going to be world champion, who's going to be facing who's going to be defending the title, who's going to be capturing the title. And the fact that they kind of slowly build up each story so you could conceivably believe it could go any way, I really, really love. These segments go a long ways for me in terms of believability for the product, because I don't want to watch wrestling and the entire time be thinking like, oh, this was a smart booking choice. Oh, this. It's fun when you lose yourself in the moment and you're like, oh my God, oh, this person could really win. And it makes it so much easier if they have those stories pre-built and you're like, well, I mean, if Logan Paul wins this match, it makes sense because Gunther hates Logan Paul and he's already says he has a sight set on him. And Seth Rollins and Logan Paul had their match at Mania a couple years ago, and Seth is already ready to run it back. And Seth would prefer that because Logan Paul should be easier to beat than Jey Uso is.
Right?
So I've really liked these kind of promos they've been doing these last couple weeks. I'm a pretty big fan of.
Yeah, just to touch on it with that, what you touched on was the familiarity. You know, people a lot more are talking about like, well, I've seen what you've been doing. I heard what you've been saying. But also, just to give a specific example, when it was the Judgment Day backstage and AJ Styles came into their clubhouse and he just looks at Finn. He doesn't go, hi, Finn Balor, here is what I have to say. He looks at him and goes, what's up, Prince? Like, come on.
It adds so much. It adds so much when you let the wrestlers have that familiarity with each other and call out.
Yeah, it's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say, like, for you and me, as theater majors, as actors, as performers, this is what they really dug into our brains. You know, when you play a character, you can't just play them at the surface level. It's about digging deeper and deeper and deeper and having like those little things you can pull out of a hat, like those little quirks they have, or those little catchphrases they have, or those little familiarity pieces. Because if you're just on the surface, you're telling a story, but you're not feeling the story. What we're having a lot more right now is people feeling the story that they're telling instead of just telling it and letting it all play out in the ring.
Well, and like the Royal Rumble's my favorite example of this, because that's when we get to tease matchups, and that's how you get to tell how over the innate storytelling and overness of the characters are. Because I feel like the roster is at a emotional storytelling depth it has not been at since like 2005. When you had all those Attitude Era characters and the Ruthless Aggression and all these newer talents, the John Cenas, the Randy Ortons, the Batistas coming in, but you also had the Triple H's, the Shawn Michaels, the Undertakers, but then you had this other new wave of talent coming in, Carlito, Chris Masters, Shelton Benjamin, where it was just, there was so much good stuff going on, and everybody had relations with everybody else. This guy hates these 8 people. And those moments you would get to see in the Royal Rumble, if you think about every big stare down we've had in the Rumble, about 95% of them have been either 2 returning legends who haven't seen each other or squared off for years, like Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, or a legend coming up against the newcomer that you're like, oh, this could be cool. But it's so rare, and we're finally getting to that point where, like, you see Seth Rollins and CM Punk stare each other down, and that gets a pop. Even though they're both active competitors and they've been fighting, but they still get a pop in the Rumble when they stare down. Rey Mysterio versus Penta, and they get a damn loud pop. And it's like, okay, but these are both active superstars actively competing. We're finally getting to that point where these superstars have depth beyond, oh, this is a guy who does flips. Oh, this is a guy who does, he bleeds a lot. This is a guy who does this. Like, we're finally getting emotional depth, and that comes from, you can play as a third-dimensional character as you want, but if every time you have to reset when you fight somebody new and get your character over again, that sucks. So when you continue these stories and overlap them, that adds so much more emotional depth to your storytelling. And that's really paying off now.
Oh, I got, when you said Rey and Penta, oh my god, like the goosebumps, my dog, because that was such a moment in the Rumble. I loved it. Oh,
even though Penta eliminated himself in like 30 seconds.
I don't. I'm not gonna talk about it. We're not talking about it. We're not talking about it.
What we already kind of talked about actually was Solo and Jacob Fatu, and how, so we don't need to dive deep into this. They did have a nice promo.
All the way deep. We dove balls deep into this.
Destiny Diamond, everybody. They did have a nice promo there where Solo essentially called out Jacob and said, you used to say, I love you, Solo. You say it with your chest. I want you to say it again. And he said, I love you, Solo, but there was no enthusiasm behind it. And when Solo called him out on that, LA Knight actually interrupted and started whooping some ass. Yeah. And so we never got the resolution of that. And so I am really liking this slow build with Solo and Jacob Fatu and how they're planting these seeds. These are the stories that make sense to tell over time at a slow pace. Because we've been giving Triple H a lot of shit with the slow storytelling. This is one where it makes sense to do slowly, and we don't want to rush it too quickly. Next up, Destiny. I'm sure you have a million thoughts about this match. Alexa Bliss.
I absolutely do.
Versus Chelsea Green versus Michin Mia Yim.
Okay. Now, I have a million things to say about
real
this.
Quick, for those of you watching who didn't know, this is a Money in the Bank qualifier match. This is why these 3 women are fighting. I just wanted to give them that extra context before we go into it. So go ahead.
Absolutely. Since we're talking Money in the Bank, obviously, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll scream it from the rooftops. My pick to win is still, even after this match, Chelsea Green. That woman is a future Miss Money in the Bank. Now, we have Alexa Bliss, Chelsea Green, Michin, all fighting to qualify for the Money in the Bank title match. Money in the Bank briefcase match, right? So, The incredible, talented, perfect, amazing Alexa Bliss wins. She was victorious. This is the woman that everybody on the internet is saying, push Alexa Bliss, put her on my TV. I want more Alexa Bliss. She got the biggest pop in the history of the Royal Rumble and she's not being used on TV. She had the biggest pop in the history of the Royal Rumble and she's not on WrestleMania. And then, as soon as she wins this match, people are tweeting, oh sure, give it to the old lady. Alexa Bliss was the youngest competitor in this match. Yes, she's been in the WWE longer than the other two. However, youngest woman in the match. She literally called it out. Chelsea called it out. Michin called it out. And this is something that people have been talking about. The ageism within WWE, specifically pertaining to women's superstars.
Now, hold on.
Yeah.
Before we go into this further, we have a whole section dedicated to this later. Let's put a pin in it for now. Opinions. I know, and I will give you full reign on it when we get to that point.
Much appreciated.
Yes.
Let's just focus on the match. Okay,
yes.
Focus on the match.
Let's go through the recap,
hey, listen,
and then I got a whole section dedicated for you.
Listen. Linda, honey, listen. Alexa Bliss is so phenomenal. She deserves to be in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. She's a former Miss Money in the Bank, and maybe she does it again. I do still have hope that Chelsea will win some sort of a last-minute qualifying match, some Battle Royal, or some Fatal 4-Way, or some multi-woman match, and earn her way into this match as well. You can't have Money in the Bank without Chelsea Green. It just doesn't work. I thought it was a stellar match. These three women are insanely talented, and I can't wait to see more from them, honestly, because especially with all of the online stuff going on, I could see them running it back in more ways than one.
I loved the finish of this match specifically. Alexa pinning Green was so good. That whole interruption where it looked like Green had the match won and Alexa, it looked vicious. I really love that. I love Bliss in this position. She would have... I didn't watch this live, but had I known about this match, she would have been my pick to win. I really like this spot. I like Alexa to win the women's Money in the Bank and to have a lengthy reign as that Money in the Bank holder. I wouldn't be mad at that whatsoever. I love Chelsea Green is so good in her role as Biggest Loser. She's cursed with the Drew McIntyre effect here of she's almost better when she loses. Which really...
This is one of those examples, yes. Because you talked about how I like to see my favorites win, and obviously I like to see Chelsea win, but she is one that I don't mind watching lose. And like I've said, she's in my top 5, if not top 3, favorite women superstars of all time. Please continue.
Well, it's just this whole effect of... There's superstars that have that rare trait of when they lose, they're more interesting. Because if Chelsea wins, okay, she's going to strut around and I'm the queen of the world. I'm so good. When she loses, you're immediately like, oh, what's she going to do now? Every time Chelsea loses, she does the craziest fucking shit. What is she about to do right now? And it almost makes you giddy with excitement. Like when she's teetering on the edge in the Royal Rumble, when she's about to win the big one and you're like, how's she going to fuck this up? That's immediately what you ask. And so it makes you have like this pit of excitement in your stomach of when she finally is about to win the big one. What happens now? And so I'm so excited when she finally does get her moment because of how they've been dangling that in front of us for so long. When it finally does happen, it's going to be such a moment. It just better happen. I don't think it should happen soon. I think another like 2 years of this, of her getting cheated out. And she doesn't even have to change her character. It can literally just be right woman in the right situation where maybe she's the first person to ever win a Royal Rumble without being involved in the finish. Like you have the Bret Hart, Lex Luger finish or the Triple H Batista finish where they eliminate each other. And Chelsea's just sitting in the corner by herself and she wins the match. I would cry. I would laugh so fucking hard, and who better than Chelsea to be in that position? I'm just
Pull
saying.
Lana from the Survivor Series X amount of years ago when she literally was the last woman standing in the Women's Survivor Series match, and it was because everybody else got counted out.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes.
it right there.
So she is such a perfect she's one of the best characters. Even though she has such an awful win-loss ratio, she is one of the best characters in the women's division, and I love that.
By far.
So
yeah, by leaps and bounds.
Michin, I'm not entirely sold on. I think she's a great character to have around. I don't think she's ever going to get pushed as really a top tier talent, but I really like her in a position of you do need that wild card of you need somebody who can be in these situations. The problem is since the women, I don't know what the difference is between the women's division and the men's. Why it feels so, because the men's division, like you can have a million different. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but it's like if Michin loses 4 title matches back to back, it feels like she's done. It feels like her career's over. It's like, why do they even have her anymore? They need to get rid of her. But the men's division, you don't feel like that. And I feel like
I personally don't feel that with Michin, but that's just personal.
I don't feel that yet, but it's just she's at that point where she's for the mid-card title, she had like 3 back-to-back shots and she kept failing.
Yeah.
And it's like she needs to do something different. But you look at somebody like Sheamus, now we're more desperate for it than ever.
Right. Yeah, I think so. My thing with Michin is I think that she is a strong and reliable performer. She's a phenomenal wrestler. She's great in the ring. But for me, her inconsistencies lie within her character because she was the HBIC and then all of a sudden she's for some reason aligned with the OC and AJ Styles. And then the Good Brothers get released and AJ had already been injured and she's kind of just floating around, just not knowing what to do and not really knowing her identity. And then she comes up with the character, but it's not really cohesive and it doesn't really make sense. And it's like she's trying to portray some sort of this vision that she has, but the story isn't being told behind her because she doesn't talk. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about her. She's not doing the backstage segments the way that, characters like Zelina Vega have been doing. She's not being interviewed backstage. She's not being interviewed in the audience. Nothing. We're not really getting any context to the presentation that is Michin. I feel personally that her presentation would be so much better if she would just ditch those horrendous ponytails and go back to her regular look. Now, you know me, I love myself a double ponytail. I wore it at the Green Day concert. I've been compared to Alexa Bliss multiple times. However, it just does not work with her hair length, or her style, or her character, or anything she's trying to do. It's giving... The thing that it's giving for me, with its length and its style and the way that she's wearing it, it's giving... Please forgive me, but middle-aged... wannabe porn star who's trying to portray this kink gimmick with the Squirrel Girl inspired outfits and the horrendous ponytails. I apologize. I know that is leaps and bounds beyond what it truly is, but it's just they're just being done so incorrectly. Her stylist needs to be fired.
4 words of 6 words actually, because apparently 2 of these don't count. Hereditary breast and ovarian cancer syndrome.
Pardon?
What the fuck did you say was her original character?
HBIC, head
in
charge.
Okay, I see. I thought you said HBOC, and I googled that, and that stands for Hereditary Breast and Ovarian Cancer Syndrome, and I've been so confused this entire time.
August.
So there's that going for you. Yeah. Everything she said. Don't watch. Archer John Cena.
Don't do any research.
Non-title Destiny Diamond.
I know. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Because I have honestly conflicting feelings about this for so many reasons.
WrestleMania 32, one that is near and dear to Miss Destiny Diamond's heart, had one major flaw going into the event. This event is not looked at fondly by a lot of people. The big problem I had going into WrestleMania 32 that I can remember is the New Day were this close to breaking the record for longest reigning tag team champions in the history of the company. And they were set to defend their tag team titles at WrestleMania against not the Legion, what the hell? The League of Nations. Against the League of Nations. And a couple weeks before the show, the tag team title stipulation was quietly removed, and it was made into a normal tag team match. And everybody was like, why the hell aren't the tag team titles up for grabs? And then we realized, because if the New Day win the match, if the New Day lose the match and they lose the titles, they don't get the record. And so WWE wants to give them the record, and they want to have the League of Nations win the match. And the only way to do that is to not have the tag team titles on the line. Which basically spoiled the outcome of the match going into it for WrestleMania 32, which was a big negative going into that match, because it also took all the importance out of the tag team titles, which were not in a great place to begin with going into WrestleMania 32. And I feel like we're kind of in a similar situation here with R-Truth, John Cena, of why the hell would they change this to a non-title match if they're not doing a schmoz finish of either R-Truth winning? But
sorry, I just got a vision. Let's continue.
I'm still scared Cody Rhodes is going to come back, and Cody's going to cost Cena the win here. And the reason it's a non-title match is because they didn't want Truth to win the title with Cody doing this.
I could totally see that, because I feel like with an old school pay-per-view like this, with bringing back Tatanka for some reason, and I know that Jesse Ventura is going to be...
You do not some reason Tatanka. That man is a national icon.
Him. I'm just saying here, not on his fault, it is not his doing, but he is a racist caricature created by Vince McMahon in order to be racist against Native Americans on WWE television, and you can hear it in his commentary. Moving on. Never won a title that was ever important. Never did anything important. I don't know why he's going to be around at Saturday night's main event. I'm sorry. No hate to Tatanka. He's phenomenal. Great person.
Was Shawn Michaels... Oh, maybe that's not true, actually. Never mind. Never mind.
Anyway, Jesse Ventura is going to be involved. This is the type of pay-per-view where you're absolutely going to have a Cody Rhodes. The legacy that is Cody Rhodes and the Rhodes family and Dusty and everything in between. Now, I have a lot of things. So my thought process kind of has been, what has R-Truth done to deserve a title opportunity? Nothing. He helped Cena win. That's it. And that does not qualify you for a title match. Now, obviously, Cena putting him through a table warrants a match. Cena's not going to wrestle on a random Raw. He's not going to wrestle on a random SmackDown. We have this beautiful opportunity to have a one-on-one non-title match with John Cena. Put it on a Saturday night's main event, because it's not a main PLE, it's an extra show. It's one of those extra little blurbs that they put in between two bigger pay-per-views. Not the main four, but the two big ones that are driving your storylines. Because we just had Backlash 2 weeks ago, and we're going to have another pay-per-view in another 2 weeks. So this is kind of one of those opportunities where you have an extra show. It's kind of like the untelevised MSG shows that they always build up the extra hype around. So I think that that's probably the reason why, because R-Truth hasn't earned a title opportunity, but he has earned an opportunity to fight John Cena after everything that has happened. Now, the vision that I had, the face that I made. Here's how I would like to see this happen. Cena, Truth, in the ring, together, fighting it out, duking it out. Cena's obviously going to win. Cody Rhodes comes out, like you said. Cody Rhodes comes out and costs John Cena the match. Who's he facing? R-Truth. So R-Truth wins the match, and in his brain, that means he won the title. So R-Truth is going to leave, grab the title, start celebrating with it, like, I'm the WWE champion. He's gonna leave with the title, steal the title, and be like, I'm the WWE champion. This is gonna give Cena even more of a reason to want to kill him, and another reason to want to kill Cody. I want to see some sort of a beautiful, delusional R-Truth moment with him and the WWE Championship. I think it would be comedic gold, and I love it for that man. And also just to have a picture of R-Truth holding the WWE Championship high at Saturday night's main event, put it in every museum in the world.
You're ridiculous. I can see that. In particular, the last things you were talking about, R-Truth thinking he's won the title, absolutely happening. What I will say is, I'm gonna hold that for our actual prediction segment. I'll put a pin in that for now. I do think it's interesting. It's a non-title match. I think it really means something here, but I will talk more about that as we get into Saturday night's main event predictions. Another Money in the Bank qualifier next. Jimmy Uso versus Rey Fenix versus Solo Sikoa. And ya boy, he won. Solo Sikoa.
Of course he did.
Walked away with the victory.
The whole fam family in on that one.
I am so happy. So it gives Solo a bit of focus here. To where now Solo has something he can go after. He's not going to be Money in the Bank. I do not think Solo is going to win Money in the Bank. But it gives him another thing to lose here. And even if he does, I don't think he's winning. He's not going to have a successful cash-in, which I pray isn't what happens. But this gives him another chip of failure on his shoulder where he's like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Why aren't I Roman Reigns? I have the Usos. I have Sikoa. What else do I need in order to get on that next level? And I really love him in that position, as we talked about earlier. I love the fact that it was Solo who won this match. People think Rey Fenix is being buried. I don't really think so.
I don't think that people know what the word buried means anymore, but that's a conversation for a whole other time.
He's getting primetime television, and he's looking like a star while doing it. That's what he needs right now, is exposure.
He's one of two people to have an actual decent Def Rebel theme, him and his brother. So I think that he's got it pretty solid.
And then we got, shocked the hell out of me, a Shinsuke fucking Nakamura promo. What? So a lot of rumors saying Shinsuke not renewing his contract, which still could very well be true, and this could be his last hurrah, or he might have a couple months left. I don't know the particulars of his contract deal, but I was very happy to get to see this moment. He calls out both LA Knight and Aleister Black. The entire promo was in Japanese and was dubbed over in English with subtitles. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. They should have been doing this the whole time with Nakamura's character. This gave him such an aura he feels like a badass and not just some crazy psychopath that you're like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? He feels like this ancient Japanese samurai that you don't want to piss off because he will kill you. And the fact that it's him versus LA Knight versus Aleister Black, these matches have stakes. You look at Mia Yim versus Alexa Bliss versus Chelsea Green. You look at this match, you look at Jimmy versus Rey Fenix versus Solo Sikoa, and all of these matches are filled with superstars who could all have a legitimate place in a Money in the Bank ladder match. All of these superstars I could see holding the briefcase, which is the best part about these, is that when they have this match next week, you can make an argument for any one of these guys like they need to be in this match. And that is what I love, is because that's what makes me want to watch. I have to watch next week because they have this match and I got to see who wins, because anybody could win this match. It's not Drew
especially
McIntyre.
Like for me, it's like, yeah. Well, what I was going to say is, especially when, for me personally, it's like Alexa Bliss versus Chelsea Green versus Michin. Okay, I want Chelsea Green to win more than anything in the world, but you can't tell me that Alexa Bliss isn't going to be in it. You can't tell me that I have to pick one or the other. You're telling me that one of these women isn't going to Money in the Bank? I mean, I do, again, hope for a last-minute qualifying something or another. However, the fact that, like you said, the stakes are so high because there are 3 people in this match, 2 of them will not be in the ladder match. And that is insane. And especially with having so many big names in these qualifying matches, holy hell, there are going to be some insane names and some major superstars left out of Money in the Bank this year. I'm excited to see who qualifies.
And I really like this triple threat format. A couple years ago, me and Destiny did a rebooking the Monday Night Wars series where I took over WWF and she took over WCW, and we both drafted whole new rosters and fought each other. I was a huge fan, and I actually used this format, which I had never really seen done before, of doing triple threats for a tournament style type thing. I did a whole triple threat qualifier. I love this format because it allows you to... You can do, okay, LA Knight, Aleister Black, Shinsuke Nakamura, and LA Knight wins, and now Black and Nakamura cost each other the match, and they're both pissed at each other, and now you can seamlessly go into a match with those two at the same time. You don't have to add in a whole extra week of build of why are these guys even fighting in the first place. It doesn't have to be an interference of Aleister Black coming out and costing Nakamura for some reason. You can have it built into the match naturally and have it work like that. I really love this. I love the stakes that each one of these matches have. And if we want to talk about a match with stakes, Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax to close off SmackDown. And what a match it was. What a match it was. Oh, Destiny, I'll give you this one because this is your girl.
Now, let me tell you, this was something that interested me because the SmackDown before this, there was a number one contenders match, and Nia Jax pinned Jade Cargill to become the number one contender. That was something I did not see coming. So, back to what you and I were talking about with how Nia needs to legitimize herself and get herself back in that title picture because she didn't have a legitimate gripe. She got it last week. Well, technically the week before. However, this match with her and Tiffy, that finish, oh my god. Like, that was so good. Tiffy is absolutely phenomenal, and she looked stellar as always. And the gear, chef's kiss. But just seeing her hit that kick to the chair to the face, gusher!
Yeah, that was
so good.
It was
How
vicious.
often do you see that? How often do you see some shit like that? I loved it. I want to see the women bleed more. I love Mariah May. I need more of her. I need more of Toni Storm. I love those two bitches. Oh my god, those are bad bitches.
I loved the...
Sorry, there's just, hardcore and women at the same time. It's just, give me more.
I loved the Queen of the Ring callback where... how Nia actually became Queen of the Ring and got her opportunity at Bayley's title to win the title last year was actually the exact spot they did in this match here where she was facing my girl, Lyra, and Lyra went to go powerbomb her and she did a mid-air bonsai drop onto Lyra. And Tiffany was able to... It was a great false finish where she was crushed. Everybody in the audience bought into it. 1, 2... And Tiffany hit the rope. She snatched that like it owed her fucking money. It was a great spot.
Sir.
And it really showed... you don't have to be this crazy champion and kick out everything and just an ultimate underdog and have the most heart. You can be smart.
Looking at Cody.
I want more of the... Yeah, but it makes sense for some characters. Cody Rhodes deserves it. Seth Rollins deserves it. And not that Tiffany doesn't, but that there can be a higher breed of... That it doesn't have to be just this one archetype is your superstar. There is room for the smart stars who... It reminds me of the Miz's promo where he got Daniel Bryan all fired up, where he said, I'm the guy who's good enough to not get hit in the face. There's a superstar who doesn't have to be, I'm so tough you can hit me in the face, I'll keep getting up. You don't have to. Be the person who's smart enough to move out of the way. And Tiffany Stratton, very, very nice. Her reaching and grabbing that rope as... There was no way she was getting out of that move otherwise. But the in-ring wherewithal was great to see. That cut spot was insane where Nia took a face full of steel and just immediately started gushing blood. Yeah, this looked really good. I'm excited to kind of get to see... You can tell there's a women's pay-per-view coming up because there's a lot more women being featured on the card, which I really hope is a trend that continues after Evolution 2 ends, and I'm really scared it's not. I'm scared as soon as Evolution 2 is gone, it's going to go right back to pre-WrestleMania where it was few and far between. Because even stuff we didn't touch upon, like Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, interestingly enough, having a segment backstage.
Yes. Oh my goodness, the
So
history there is so crazy because those are the two women that missed out on the first ever Women's Royal Rumble because they were both champion. One on Raw, one on SmackDown. So it's so cool to see the, not to use this word, but the evolution of their careers and of the women's division, and so much has happened since that day, and it's amazing to see. I'm really excited to see the story that they tell with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss moving forward. Also, the fact that we haven't really since we last recorded, Charlotte Flair hadn't been seen on television. She has made her return, and she's looking pretty good, and I'm interested in the character that she's coming. I mean, obviously, it's still Charlotte Flair, but she's coming back with a little bit of a new attitude, and I'm excited to see what happens with her and what happens with Bliss moving forward.
yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. We now transition into other prominent women as we talk about Monday Night Raw from this week. Triple threat Money in the Bank qualifier. Another one for the women's division. Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark versus Kyrie.
Wait, we gotta talk about...
Sorry, yeah.
No, you're good, you're good. I almost said the same thing earlier.
Yes. Roxanne Perez versus Becky Lynch versus Natalya. This match was everything for me. I really love this match. Great to see Natalya. Great to see Natalya.
Yeah.
We don't see enough of Natalya.
Have you seen what she's doing with Bloodsport? Because she's been killing it in Bloodsport. It's amazing. Yes. And I want her to bring that character to WWE, because this whole, like, I'm dressing up and wearing glitter because I'm a diva and that's what I'm supposed to do, and I'm supposed to have long, beautiful blonde hair, and I'm supposed to have fake teeth, and I'm supposed to have a fake face, and I'm going to wear all the glitter, and I'm going to have the coolest outfit and the best bling and the best everything. That's great, girl, but that's not you at your core, and I want to see you at your core. You're a heart, damn it. Show us who the fuck you are. I'm loving everything she's doing in Bloodsport.
So this match was great, as Destiny touched upon earlier. For some reason, Lyra couldn't get enough of Becky Lynch, so she actually cost Becky the win here, which I loved. And I loved how this happened, of she costed Becky and beat the shit out of her for a little bit, and Becky was able to dispose of her real quick. She ran back into the ring. She almost got locked in a sharpshooter by Natalya, and then once again, Lyra ripped her out of the ring and started beating the hell out of her.
It was so good.
Roxanne Perez.
Now, here's the thing. I loved it. She's a star, dude. Going into this match, I gotta tell you, I was thinking kind of similar to what I was thinking with the other one we talked about, but I want both Roxanne and Becky in it. Obviously, in my head, it's like, okay, yeah, the man's going to win, the man's going to move on to Money in the Bank, but what about Roxanne, the newest signee on the Raw roster? This was the perfect way to take out Becky, to take out the man, and elevate that new star, the new face of the women's division on Raw, in Roxanne Perez. She absolutely shined in this match. Every single one of these three women did. It was a phenomenal match, and I'm very thankful that they did it in this way, with Lyra's interference. Obviously, like, I was like, what are you doing here? You know, why are you going back at Becky? But it is continuing to tell that story, and it's beautiful. And I love that it wasn't just she took her out and no more. Becky fought her way back in, because that is the stakes of this match. This is qualifying for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Like, she's not just gonna get pulled out and lie on the floor. Also, note that Becky Lynch would, but the stakes are so much higher that Lyra had to take her out multiple times, and also Lyra not giving up. That was dope to see, because you don't see it being done like that very often.
No, you do not. And what I love more than anything about this is how much of a sleeper hit Perez has become. Because this is the third straight time where you kind of look at Perez and you're like, oh, she's just in there, get her some exposure. And she ends up doing so much more than you thought she was going to do. The Royal Rumble, she was final 2 with Charlotte Flair, by the way. Don't forget that, people. She was final 2 with Charlotte Flair. Elimination Chamber match, she outlasted Naomi and Bayley in the match. Who Bayley was...
And she had the MVP performance.
She looked amazing in that match. Did some killer work in it. So I really love where Roxanne is at right now. And the fact the audience is already starting to get behind her.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know, I interrupted, but were you going to say, because you talked about her outlasting Bayley and Naomi, were you going to say that Bailey was the women's champion last year, and she outlasted her in the Elimination Chamber? Because that's an important detail, and I feel like I cut you off from saying it.
That was actually words right out of my mouth. Yeah, she had just lost her women's championship months prior, and so the fact that Roxanne was able to outlast Bailey in that match, and Naomi, who was a hell of a talent, however, Naomi was just completely taken out of the equation by, I almost said Tamina. Jesus Christ, by Jade Cargill. Could you imagine if Tamina came back? Ain't nobody meaner than Tamina.
Woman can't even fucking walk. I don't want to hear anything about her.
Not anymore. God, she's fucking 95. All right.
I know.
Rhea Ripley, Zoe Stark, Kairi Sane.
Can we talk about the fact that Kairi's return was spoiled beforehand? They're just like, oh yeah, by the way, Kairi Sane's coming back tonight. Stupid. Where's the welcome wagon? This is Kairi Sane.
Here's the problem.
Please give me more.
Here's the problem. Ripley was going to win the match. If Sane was going to win the match, I feel like they would have kept it as a surprise. But I feel like because Ripley was going to win, which I don't know if that's the right call. So, Kairi Sane coming back, she looked phenomenal here. She's been putting some work in. Zoe Stark, unfortunately got injured very early at the start of this match with a rogue drop kick that it just shows how dangerous this fucking sport is. Do not look up the spot if you haven't seen it. It makes me queasy. It makes my stomach did 17 backflips. I'm still trying to get it sorted out. I'm talking to my dentist right now. We're working up something with dental floss. It was messed up, dog.
Yeah, just all the well wishes in the world to Zoe Stark. We hope she has a speedy recovery. But let's just say that if you haven't seen it, something turned sideways, and it is very unfortunate that this happened because this, like you said, this is a dangerous sport, but this is also a dangerous move. It has injured another superstar previously, and now it has injured her. I'm not saying she should retire it because it is one hell of a maneuver, and these things do happen, but there might be some sort of tweaking that needs to happen in order to keep everyone, including and especially herself, safe. We are sending all of our love and our well wishes to Zoe Stark as she maneuvers through this very serious injury, because it was so bad that she had to be physically carried out bridal style by a member of the medicals team. So,
and they restarted
these
the
things
match.
Unfortunately happen, but yeah, they had to restart the match. And Kairi versus Rhea. So when I initially saw this, I didn't watch it live, but what I saw was Rhea pinning Kairi. And in my head, I was like, what is Kairi doing taking the pin in this match? Then I find out it was technically one-on-one. So, it makes sense. Now, I have to say, I think if you have a Rhea Ripley in this match, it really does legitimize every other woman that's in this match, and it legitimizes the match because she is the biggest star in the women's division currently and has been for the last several years. If there's anyone that can beat her, if somebody other than Rhea Ripley climbs the ladder and gets the briefcase, then they just beat Rhea Bloody Ripley. And they have the Money in the Bank briefcase, and they have that accolade in their back pocket. That immediately legitimizes them even more, as she is a multi-time former world champion. I think that it also puts more eyes on this match, and more people are going to be heavily invested in it, because there are so many fans that just watch the product for Rhea Ripley. I'm excited to see, though. I feel like she's going to put some nasty spots together. She's going to put some poor women through some ladders and maybe a table or two. I'm excited for the chaos that she creates with this match.
I see that, and I raise you, if she's in the match, she's probably going to win it, which is where I'm scared. I don't want Rhea to win this match. I've stated multiple times, I love Rhea. I think Rhea's great, and I think Rhea's great for the championship. I think the championship needs a break from Rhea Ripley, and I think give Kairi a year with the title, or not Kairi, sorry, give Io a year with the title and have her go wild, or somebody else, whatever you want to do. I want Rhea Ripley out of title contention between now and next year. Just give her a year off from the title and keep her on the card. Keep her towards the top of the card. Keep her prominent. But she doesn't need a title to do that. She's a big enough name. No. Give her names to feud with. And I really wonder if Kairi Sane was supposed to beat Zoe Stark in this. And the only reason I'm saying no is because her return was not a surprise.
Valid.
There are so many elements to this, but I almost feel like Sane being in this match would make more sense, and the reason why they had to change that is they didn't want Sane to get a clean victory over Rhea.
Over Rhea Ripley. Yeah, maybe she'll win a last-minute qualifier of some kind, because can you imagine an insane elbow off the top of a ladder?
Yeah.
My dog.
So...
But also, with her just coming off of an injury, I could see them being hesitant to put her in a match like this. I mean, this was a very serious injury. I can't remember exactly what it was. I just know that obviously she was out for a very, very long time. Yeah, I could totally see them keeping her out of it just for the sake of that. I kind of feel like that's another reason they didn't bring Alexa Bliss in full-time immediately, because she did just take over a year and a half off. She just had a baby. She's been out of the ring. They don't want to immediately put her full back into the fold just to keep her safe and to keep her healthy. I think that the slow ease in is the way to go for people like Alexa and Kairi and any superstar returning from injury or any other reason that they may or may not have been on the road.
Yeah, I also agree with those points. So we get to the final kind of recap thing to talk about leading into SmackDown this week, and of course Saturday night's main event, which is the CM Punk, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker feud, which also has a bit of Jey Uso sprinkled in there as well. I've really been loving everything involved with this, and not just because it's Seth Rollins, but because it really highlights everything we've been gassing up Triple H for. It makes sense why these superstars have each other's backs. It makes sense why this match is happening. And the fact that Jey Uso has looked so good these past couple weeks involved in this, that I almost wish the whole Logan Paul thing... it's so messy with Logan Paul and Gunther also kind of half involved, that I really wish Jey Uso was doing something either just focused on Logan Paul or not involved in that whatsoever with Gunther.
Yeah, his vision and his focus is so split right now, because he has Rollins breathing down his neck. He has Braun Breaker to deal with in the back corner. He has a Gunther. He has Logan Paul. He has to worry about every single one of those men coming after him at any given moment. Those aren't qualities for a successful champion or any successful championship defense.
Of which it could
it's really
be.
Being set up.
It could be if Triple H's booking was different and Jey was defending his title at every pay-per-view. This could 100% work as a knock him down, he takes him out. But the fact that he's doing title defenses on Monday Night Raw and then a title defense on Monday Night Raw, and it's just it's not devaluing the title, but it's kind of devaluing Jey Uso's run with the title. He's a champion, but he's not good enough to defend his title at Backlash. He's not good enough for Backlash, so we're going to put him on Raw. We'll put him on Saturday night's main event. I hope he's at the next pay-per-view defending his title, but even then, it's Gunther versus whoever on the Raw following Saturday night's main event, again, for the world title.
Yeah.
So you're looking at it, and it just seems like Jey Uso is being so quickly hot-shotted around from challenger to challenger in a meaningless way, to where it doesn't feel like Jey's importance is stack up the next contender, Jey Uso knocks him down, but instead it feels like set up the next challenger, Jey Uso survived somehow, but the next challenger is busy with something else, so he doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
Well, to be fair, I think that this entire world title run, I mean, obviously, the reasoning behind it happening in the first place has nothing to do with his in-ring. I mean, not nothing, but it has very little to do with his in-ring work and his work with other superstars and the story that he tells in the ring. And it has everything to do with his connection to the fans, the reactions that he's getting, the merch sales that he's getting. No disrespect to Jey Uso in any way, shape, or form. That is a talent in and of itself, and it is something that very few superstars have at all, period, ever in the history of this business. He is doing it better than even some legends. He is amazing. But his success is not built on his body of work. Obviously, this man has had multiple Match of the Year candidates, from tag team matches with his brother against countless tag teams, and his work with Roman Reigns as a single star. He has amazing accolades, but it's not what he's known for. And I think that might be why everything is kind of sloppy with his booking, with his lack of booking on pay-per-views, and more so focus on Monday Night Raw and things like that. They're getting his face everywhere that they can, especially to the public, where there is no paywall, where it's just public access for pretty much anyone and everyone that has a Netflix account or a Peacock account or cable television. They're making sure to milk Jey Uso as much as they can in getting appearances out of him and getting matches out of him to help send the crowds home happy. Because if you have seen his entrances these last couple weeks, every time he picks up a child, he should be arrested, child endangerment, for the yeeting. And it's amazing and it's fun to watch. And he is fun to watch. And he is putting on great performances, but right now he's kind of like their
Daniel Bryan. He's kind of like their Daniel Bryan.
I was trying to come up with like
a superstar who is way
he
overhyped
is.
And not as talented as everybody else makes him out to be.
Get the fuck out of my face. He is one of the best wrestlers on the entire planet.
I agree. Jey Uso's amazing. Yeah, Jey Uso is incredible. Thank you for agreeing with me that he's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. I appreciate that.
Daniel Bryan is one of the greatest superstars that has ever laced a pair of boots, and I love him so much, and he has one of the greatest success stories and one of the greatest underdog stories in the history of this organization. I'm not saying Jey Uso doesn't have a great underdog story, but he will never, ever be Daniel Bryan, and he could never lace the boots of Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's success is based on how fucking talented he was in the ring, and how he was overlooked time after time after time for people that had a better look than him. They're literally the polar opposites of each other in every way, shape, and form. How dare you bring him into this? Now I'm...
I don't think that's true. Polar opposites?
Daniel Bryan is phenomenal in the ring. Jey Uso, good in the ring. Daniel Bryan,
loved by the fans. Jey Uso, loved by the fans. They both have one-word catchphrases that got them massively over with the audience and was the reason they got massively over with the audience. They both went up against...
Could not be more different.
Why?
Because Daniel Bryan's entire everything was that he was a phenomenal wrestler, and the connection that was built with the connection he built with the fans was based off of the fact that he was an incredible wrestler who was never given a proper opportunity. Jey Uso's connection with the fans is that he is fun and that he likes to have a good time.
And that he was held down and was not given a proper opportunity. Even though Daniel Bryan was held down by the authority.
No. Yes.
Jey Uso was held down.
Yeah. By his cousin, exactly.
But
so
there
it was
is
not
no
a booking thing.
But
it was not a booking thing.
But there is no authority in WWE now. There hasn't been an authority figurehead like that in WWE since 2017.
Right. But that's the thing. He was being held down not
by the
just
modern
by
equivalent.
An on-screen.
By the modern equivalent.
Because Daniel Bryan was being held down not just by an on-screen authority figure, but he was literally being held down by the chairman and all of the writers and everybody that worked backstage. And they turned it into a real-life thing leading into WrestleMania 30. And Jey Uso has been held down by his cousin through storyline and storyline alone.
I don't think that's true. I'm just saying Daniel Bryan was a world champion. Daniel Bryan was a world champion within, 2 years of debuting in WWE? And Jey Uso took 15 years to get that opportunity? Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
Daniel
They're
Bryan
polar opposites. You agree with me.
Daniel Bryan was given so much more opportunity from management, both backstage and on screen, than Jey Uso ever was. So in that regards, yes, you are right. Daniel Bryan was given a lot more opportunities than Jey Uso was.
Because he earned them. Jey Uso's riding the coattails of his name.
Uso, there hasn't been a ton of famous Usos.
Yeah, sure. You say that now.
Yeah, he's going to have a bunch of kids, and those kids are going to yeet all over the place, and it's going to be awesome. And we're going to have a whole family of Usos.
Filthy. That sounds filthy.
Regardless, as you can tell, I'm not a huge Daniel Bryan fan. He's all right. I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I'm not a huge Daniel Bryan fan.
I don't even hate Jey Uso, but Daniel Bryan being compared to Jey Uso, get the fuck out of my face.
I know. Jey Uso's way better. I get it.
The main event.
All right.
Was. Hey, we didn't even talk about Punk and Zayn.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah, Jey Uso, Braun Breaker, great match. Rollins decides to come out and interfere with... He's going commando in skinny jeans for some ungodly reason. We almost had major wardrobe malfunctions. And of course, who has to come to the rescue but the golden boy, Sami Zayn, everybody's best friend. And then you have Rollins and Breaker, Sami Zayn, and you got a Stone Cold Steve Austin level pop for CM Punk. Not only did the crowd lose their damn minds, but they continued to sing his theme song for several seconds after the music stopped playing. And they called that audible, and they continued the stare down as they were serenaded by the audience. How does that feel, Rollins? How does it feel to be in the ring and not be able to move because you're being serenaded by someone else's theme song? Huh? Huh?
Well, Rollins is pretty much used to that feeling because he gets serenaded all the time, so...
No, what I said was someone else's.
I know.
He's getting a little bit of payback. I mean, that's why I said it! He's used to being serenaded, just not by someone else.
I like it. I am already worried, though, because Rollins looked weak here. I will say that. They did the beatdown.
Maybe he wore underwear.
I don't know why you're looking at Rollins' McJunk.
It was a crack.
They started the beatdown, and Rollins basically got his ass kicked by Sami Zayn, and then Braun Breaker was able to step... Braun Breaker had to save Seth Rollins multiple times during this.
I mean, you try fighting in skinny jeans. Sorry, I'm done.
I really hope
point.
They're not nerfing Seth Rollins. They do this every time. They did it to Roman. You look at Tribal Chief 2020, 2021, was an entirely different character than Tribal Chief 2023, 2024. In terms of, he was a bigger star in later years because he had been doing it longer. But Roman Reigns in 2021 would have murdered Roman Reigns in 2024. Because the more members of the authority... What the fuck's it called?
The bloodline.
The bloodline. I kept wanting to call it the original club. I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
The OC?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know what the fuck was happening.
I mean, it's because he's being called the OTC, which is so dumb. What with the abbreviations, man?
It's just, they do this every time, and it makes sense because you can't surround Superman with a whole team of Supermen, and you have to nerf the guy. You have to give them an Achilles heel. I just hate it because it never makes sense. Seth Rollins has shown how strong he is as an individual competitor. When you combine him on a team... he should not be weaker once he's on a team. The one time in history I could think that they haven't done that they haven't weakened superstars, is DX. And it's one of the greatest teams of all time. Shawn Michaels and Triple H, when they came back together, and they were still Shawn Michaels and Triple H, they still competed at those levels. They didn't nerf their power down. And they became one of the greatest tag teams of all time, if not the greatest tag team of all time. They looked amazing together.
I speak jive.
Okay, that's racist. That is so bad. All right, well, I'm going to write that one down.
No.
I'm going to write that one down. And those that don't probably think you do blackface in your free time.
I would never. I would literally...
Ultimately, we're moving on from the recaps. We have a lot more to talk about in terms of these superstars, but a lot of that's going to come up during our Saturday night main event predictions. I also misspelled that, but we'll talk about that later. Current wrestling news. Sabu.
Unfortunately, the hardcore legend himself, ECW original, homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, Sabu has passed away at the age of 60. just coming off the heels, less than a month ago, having his final match against Joey Janela. He is one of the greats. He was an innovator of the hardcore style. No one did it like him, and his physical body was living, breathing proof of that. It is heartbreaking to see someone go so young. But our thoughts and prayers are with Sabu and his friends, his family, his coworkers, and everyone whose lives he touched in the world of professional wrestling.
Man was absolutely insane. I do think I've chatted a lot. I have a Discord if you want to join that. There's not a ton of wrestling content going on the Discord. I have 5 different YouTube channels there. But one of the things I do want to touch base on there is, one of the things I like to do on the channel is rewatching old wrestling content. I'm doing a WrestleMania rewatch series, and I've kind of chatted with my Discord, and we decided, instead of just focusing on one event and watching all of them and then moving to the next one, I'm kind of going to start bopping around here. So here this week, I will be doing a live reaction of Saturday night's main event, if you want to check that out. And I do think in the weeks after that, I'm actually going to be checking out, I believe I'm going to do ECW One Night Stand 2006. It had the infamous Sabu versus Rey Mysterio matchup. I believe that was the name of the event. I'm pretty sure it was One Night Stand.
Yes. It was, yes. So the One Night Stand series, the two of my favorite pay-per-views of all time, and that is probably my favorite Sabu match, and it was one of my favorite matches of the night. It was absolutely incredible. That finish had my jaw on the floor.
No spoilers.
My dad and I watched it together.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. My dad and I, our jaws were on the floor. We couldn't believe it. It was so crazy. The rush. Oh, it was insane. And it is unfortunate to see a lot coming out about his passing, a lot of the controversy, and a lot of the things that happened leading up to his final match, and unfortunately his untimely passing. So hopefully his family is able to get closure, and hopefully there is nothing really wrong that happened, just wrestlers being wrestlers.
Yes. But Sabu was phenomenal. If you haven't seen some of his works, even if you don't want to do the watch along with us, definitely check out that match, Sabu versus Rey Mysterio, or really any Sabu versus Rob Van Dam match, and you will get to see the magic that this man had. He was literally the original. This is essentially Extreme Wrestling done right. I hate deathmatch wrestling. I will not shy away from that statement at all. Sabu was very much in the Mick Foley circle of, he knew how to use weapons and utilize them in a way that added importance to the match and wouldn't detract from a match. And Sabu was one of the magic few who could get away with it. I absolutely loved Sabu. So,
me too. And we would be remiss if we didn't say, go check out Sabu, anything with Sabu and Taz. Those two they made magic together, and there's no other way to say it.
So, moving on from the sad situation there, I did want to bring up something I had mentioned earlier when we were talking about our Backlash recap of John Cena. After the match, a lot of fans are talking about the fact that John looked almost disappointed in himself as he won, and they were recording him leaving the area, and he almost looked depressed that he had retained his title and he had been cheating. And a lot of fans have been talking about how it almost looks like John Cena regrets turning heel, and that he hates the fact he's not able to kind of talk to the audience how he used to be able to. And Destiny, I wanted to get your thoughts on this.
This is personal opinion. I think his heel turn would be so much better utilized had The Rock shown up at WrestleMania. I think that would have added such a beautiful feather in the cap that is John Cena turning heel. I am firmly standing behind that he absolutely should have turned heel, because can you imagine we get to the end of the road in December and it never happened? It absolutely needed to happen, and I will not ever shy away from that opinion. I do think that Cena is missing out on a lot of the things that he looked forward to with this retirement run. like you touched on, all of the fan interactions, all of the waving, the shaking hands, the kissing babies, everything that he himself is known for and has been known for his entire career. Um, I don't. He is such an incredible actor and performer, and he's one of the greatest minds in this business ever. So I can see that defeated look being part of his character and the story that he's telling, and I could see it leading to an eventual babyface turn, maybe around SummerSlam, maybe around Survivor Series, so he does go out as that beloved babyface and does get some sort of a babyface Cena run in his final months. Maybe we have some sort of a, because we talked about Cena not losing the title until the very end, but, maybe he loses it September, October, November, and he is just so brokenhearted and so, like, beside himself, and somehow that leads him back to the light and the side of good. So I'm not 100% sure where this is going to lead. I could see it turning into a beautiful story where he does get a last-minute redemption arc of some kind. Maybe maybe he has some sort of a Darth Vader redemption story where he was the worst villain of all time.
No spoilers for Star Wars. No spoilers for Star Wars. I still haven't seen it.
It's been 50 years.
I know spoilers from Star Wars. I am going to see it. I'm filming a reaction for my reaction channel. Thank you. Do not spoil Star Wars.
Okay. So anyone that's seen Star Wars knows what I'm talking about. The end of episode 6.
Okay.
I'll say no more.
I 100% think Cena's working the crowd here. Is what I'll say on this. I think this is not Cena actually showing regret and depression. I think this is Cena playing his character of, we're going to get to see John Cena, the character, kind of disappointed in himself, and maybe this heel run hasn't been all it's worked up to be, and was it really worth selling his soul?
He ends up flat on his back every single show. I would agree. So
yeah, with that, I do think I have my fingers crossed. I think how this is gonna end, I think his heel run, I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. I do think, I'm with Destiny, at the earliest, it's going to be like October. I still think it should be his last match is when he turns face again. And I originally said it's when the ref's hand hits 3 and Cena gets beaten for the title. That's it. He should be babyface after that. I almost feel like it should come, I feel like because they've built this up and his essential new finish is fucking hitting his opponent in the face with the title. I also loved the Eddie Guerrero-esque shush that he did to the crowd when the ref took the bump and he looked at the crowd before he went to go grab the title and he went shh. Like, oh my god, what an Eddie Guerrero-esque move. I had just talked about that at the last podcast where I was like, that was the moment fans loved, is the interaction right before Eddie would do the dumb shit, not the dumb shit. I feel like this is Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, WrestleMania 8 is the end of John Cena's career, where Cena leaves the ring, he grabs the belt, it's his perfect opportunity, he can retire as champion, and that's when he finally has that moment where all the guilt takes over him. He looks at the crowd chanting his name one last time, and he decides he's either going to win as John Cena or he's going to lose as a man, and he drops the title, and he tries to win as himself, and it cost him the victory. And Cena loses as a good guy as opposed to winning as a bad guy. I feel like it's the perfect way to storybook his career, is that Roddy Piper, Bret Hart finish. WrestleMania 8, if you haven't seen it, it's one of my favorite matches of all time. It might be...
Oh my god.
It's probably my favorite Roddy Piper match of all time. I don't think it's my favorite Bret Hart match, because Bret and Shawn were some magic, but...
Hello.
It was Roddy's finest hour. It was so good.
I'm going to tell y'all with a tear in my eye, that would be the most poetic ending to John Cena's in-ring career. I would bawl like a baby. I already bawled like a baby when he turned heel, and those were tears of joy. Oh, God. Yeah. That would be so beautiful.
In other news here, Kevin Owens
painted a beautiful picture.
Still has not gotten surgery. He recently answered a couple questions, or he made a post. I don't remember what the context was behind this, but he
He made a 4.5 minute long video and posted it to social media, specifically on Twitter, talking about how he has been consulting with doctors and they're kind of going back and forth on plans. And he is currently, he has not had surgery as of yet. They're still figuring out what the best course of action is. They haven't scheduled a date yet, but he name dropped the great doctors that he is working with, so he's in good hands. While he was talking about this, he also name dropped that there is a book that has been released about him and Sammy's career and how you can get it in the TikTok shop and in other places. So if you want a book about the nitty-gritty details that most fans miss, all of those beautiful details that happen in the ring that wrestlers hope that the fans catch on to, this book chronicles all of them throughout their entire careers together, not just in WWE. So if you want to read on that, which I know I do, go check it out. Kevin has posted the link all over social media. So you guys, that is one to check out for sure. And hopefully he reads it again while he's recovering from surgery.
Yeah, so all best wishes there to Kevin Owens. I really hope we get to see him in a ring again. He's 41, but he is one of those made men where... how many men could say they've main evented WrestleMania against Stone Cold Steve Austin? Not a lot. How many men can say they main evented WrestleMania in a tag team match? Not a lot, and not a lot still alive. So...
How many men can say that they pinned John Cena in their first main roster match? Not many, especially 12 years into John Cena's career, like after 15 world titles. Not many.
I think the only other person who can claim that is Carlito, actually, who beat John Cena for the U.S. title on his debut back in 2004, baby. Now that's cool.
Speaking of which, Dan's gifts to the Judgment Day, she got Carlito a freaking apple, and Raquel's just like, the nuggets that she got for Dom. He's a tendies guy. Not enough people are talking about that. In a clothing box.
Yeah, it was a real problem. Darby Allin.
Breaking news. Darby Allin made it to the top of the world. Literally, he has reached the summit of Mount Everest and he planted the AEW flag. Congratulations to Darby Allin. This is major because most people don't even make it out alive on a trek like this, which is, well, maybe not most. I exaggerate.
R.I.P. Red Boots. You died a hero.
R.I.P. Red Boots. No idea. But our man Darby Allin has done it, and he somehow miraculously did it in a t-shirt. So, congratulations, Darby Allin. We can't wait for you to come back and tell us all about it.
And while Darby Allin has never climbed higher, unfortunately, AEW has never looked lower there, as their Saturday Collision episode was knocked off air midstream there, essentially. They had a half hour left on their show, and it just ended, and ironically, Black Adam, The Rock's movie, started playing instead, which is wild. Obviously, this isn't intentional. There was some production issues there. But the irony is not lost that The Rock's superhero movie kicked AEW off air on Collision. So hopefully that's...
I think what makes it extra ironic is that it's one of The Rock's biggest flops. One of his worst movies, one of his biggest box office flops. The fact that that's the one that kicked them off, are you kidding me?
Wild. Did you see the video of Natalya attacking a fan?
So I did, and I did see what was said. I did see her attack the fan, and I thought it was brilliant. However, I did then find a photo of the two of them together from before the show. So it is believed to be a work.
Yeah.
If it's not, I hope she kills him. But, it most likely is, which I think is so fun. I wish that more things like that would happen, where people attack fans. I think that that's so fun. I also wish that some fans would just get popped in the mouth more often, because there are a lot of people that deserve it. True. So, I think that if you buy a ticket, you are required to sign something that says if you're a dick, you can get popped in the mouth by whichever superstar chooses. I think that should be in the contract when you purchase a ticket.
Speaking of contracts, Queen of the Ring, a movie in production about Mildred Burke, who was a pioneer in women's wrestling. But when I say pioneer, I mean before Moolah, before Mae Young. This woman was like 1930s. She was out there.
She was the original.
Yeah, amazing. I can't wait to see this movie. Apparently, originally cast, I believe, was Charlotte Flair and Liv Morgan for a couple minor roles in the movie, and they ended up not being able to do it due to scheduling conflicts. And so some AEW talent got cast in the roles instead. I've heard Tony Storm is in this.
Brilliant.
In doing so, apparently WWE has been trying to block the advertisements for this movie airing during their scheduled broadcasts. This has come to light because the official Queen of the Ring Twitter page, or X account, has tweeted out, has X'd out. What the fuck am I supposed to say here? Is it tweeted? Is it still tweeted?
Yes. I will never say X. And I've actually, funny enough, I didn't know what you were talking about when you had this highlight, but now that you say it, I have seen many an ad for Queen of the Ring, and they have specifically tweeted, and I quote, "the movie that WWE doesn't want you to see."
And the reason why that happened, somebody responded to that, said, "Saw it, enjoyed it, no idea why WWE wouldn't want to have seen it, clickbait." And the official Queen of the Ring X account responded, "You should ask them why they tried to block us from running TV ads during Raw. Illegal. Why they asked us to sponsor their events. We agreed to the financial deal, and then they pulled out last minute. This is just a glimpse into sabotaging behavior. Perhaps we will expand on the intel." So, one of the big things going on here, obviously, I really want this movie to succeed. I really love this. We just had, what was the Von Erich movie? What was that called that came out 2 or 3 years ago?
Iron Claw. I have beef with that movie, The Iron Claw.
I do too.
Bingo. He ate my Undertaker earlier. I'm making sure he doesn't do it again. Sorry. No, I thought the movie was absolutely brilliant. I believe that bringing more eyes to this story and to professional wrestling is so important, and the way that they did it was miraculous, except for the fact that they left out a brother. Now,
yeah,
the company that made this movie is known for purposefully making sad, depressing, heart-wrenching movies. You have the ability to tell the most heartbreaking and heart-wrenching story of all time, and you're like, no, too dark, too depressing. Let's lighten the mood and only kill off kill off 4 people instead of 5.
Not only that, the one they left out of the movie, the reason why he unalived himself was because his biggest fear was he thought his legacy was going to be forgotten. He's like, I'm never going to be as big and as good as my brothers. I can never amount to what they are. I'm just going to be forgotten. So he unalived himself, living in the shadow of his brothers, and that's the one who's left out of the movie? Are you kidding me?
It's so horrible.
Breaks my heart.
It's horrible. Like, and I don't mean this in a mean way. I truly don't. His story is the most important one to be told, but little Jackie. The fact that little Jackie had a bigger, more prominent role in this movie than Chris is just a disgrace. And a spit in the face to the entire Von Erich family. I'm still so mad. They had the opportunity. They had so much opportunity to tell the truth.
Yeah.
I know that that's not what this is, but oh my god, it could have been so much worse. And the fact that this makes me so mad because I am my hometown's local pro wrestling historian. Anytime anything wrestling happens, I was always the person that people went to. Not a single damn person has come to me to talk about this movie. And not only that, but there are so many people that I know that have in the last several years posted about it online since it was released. They're like, oh my god, this movie ripped my heart out. And I get to I comment like, oh, you don't even know, it's so much more heartbreaking in real life. Nobody's talking about it. I have this knowledge and not enough people know. And they're like, oh, this is such a heartbreaking story, so tragic. They don't even know. They don't even know.
They don't even know. It did blow my mind. I didn't know going into that movie. I knew Carrie was missing part of his foot. I didn't know how early in his life that happened. That when he was
Isn't
in the
it insane?
WWF, when he was in the Rumble, when he was the Intercontinental Champion, I didn't know he was already missing part of his foot. That blew my
Yes.
mind. I thought that happened years
Yes.
after. So, blew
Oh, I
my
know,
mind.
because
there.
I didn't know. So I honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, until I watched the Dark Side of the Ring episode on this family, I knew it was heartbreaking. I didn't realize how absolutely gut-wrenchingly, vomit-inducingly horrible this story actually is. I had no idea. And I probably saw this 2022, 2023 is when I finally saw the Dark Side of the Ring episode. So forgive me. I didn't know until I watched it that Carrie was an amputee. That is so insane that nobody ever knew, nobody ever talked about it, and how it didn't put a damper on his legacy whatsoever. It is crazy. So crazy.
So, shout out the Queen of the Ring movie. Long story short, this is going to be, if you don't know Mildred Burke, she is a pioneer. She is one of the original people who suffered a minor screw job in wrestling. It wasn't a full screw job, but she was a huge pioneer for women's wrestling. She was the champion. She was fighting in a 2 out of 3 falls match with a woman she was not a big fan of. They both hated each other. They started a shoot fight for the first fall. And when the first fall happened and the other woman won, they canceled the match there and stopped the last 2 falls and screwed her out of the title. So, huge. She actually was, I believe she trained Moolah. I don't think she trained May. I think she's the one who trained Moolah. So, pretty insane. Huge piece of history. Definitely check it out when you get the opportunity to. We are going to skip real quick the ageism in women's wrestling because that is going to be the last thing we kind of talk about because Destiny has a whole bunch to go on. And I just want to briefly touch upon Sheamus and the Intercontinental title. He recently did an interview where he talked about how he was disappointed to be left off the WrestleMania card, as was everybody disappointed in seeing him left off the WrestleMania card. And how he's pretty sure creative is exhausted of hearing him talk about him pitching ideas for him getting his hands on the Intercontinental Championship. But honestly, how important this is and how his character does need this. Sheamus hasn't had this stage that he's at in his career is so unique. I don't think we've ever had a wrestling character like this before, of somebody who just comes in and they come in just his whole character is I'm going to come in, deliver a banger match and then dip out. Like, he hasn't had a bad match in I don't know how long. And his last 2 matches were less than 5 minutes combined. Maybe that's not true, but they were really short matches. And they're still great friggin' matches for how short they are. This man is performing at just peak levels. He understands his character on a level that makes it entertaining and that the audience can relate to, and he needs that IC championship before it's too late. I stand by what I said last podcast where I do think he should beat Dom. I think Dom should get his title back. I don't think we need to draw this out. I don't think this needs to be this whole next 3 years of Sheamus trying to chase this title. I don't think that needs to happen. I think give him his damn championship before he gets injured and has to retire. God forbid something happens where he doesn't get his title reign. Because I will be pissed.
I love Sheamus, and I am one of his biggest fans in the world. I was just looking behind me to see if he is on this wall. He's not, but he is multiple times on that wall. He's all over the place over there. Now, I just want to say one little thing. Now, obviously, this man is more than deserving of an Intercontinental Championship run, and I am not going to argue that. But something that I want to touch upon from this past Monday night on Raw, it was him versus Grayson Waller, and they were upstaged by the star power that is Austin Theory. Because all that man was doing was standing at ringside, and the crowd was chanting his name. They didn't care about Grayson. They didn't care about Sheamus. They're like,
I wouldn't say they didn't care about them. I would say it's because
they definitely did.
The story
it's such a good story.
Yeah, the story in the ring was finally Theory is getting a measure of payback against Waller, and Sheamus is the hammer to deliver that payback.
Oh, you're so right. I just think that it's so funny that they're just like, okay, we're gonna chant for the guy at ringside, but no, once again, another banger, and he kicked Theory's ass. He did kick Theory's ass. That was last week. He kicked Grayson's ass this week, It's fantastic to see those two going back and forth, and I'm loving that Sheamus is back. I'm loving seeing him look so good, and again, banger after banger after banger. I love Sheamus, and I am truly hoping that he gets his Intercontinental Championship, and I personally would love to see it at a WrestleMania.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I wouldn't mind at SummerSlam. I really wouldn't. Just get him, win the title off of Dominic, let Dominic win it back a night later in ridiculous fashion, and then you can just have Sheamus go back to delivering bangers. Because as much as I'd love a lengthy title reign from Sheamus, and not everybody can get one, and more than anything, I just want him to get that title before something happens and this man has to retire. We've seen it happen so many times where people have unfinished stories leaving the company. And the fact that Sheamus has been chasing this title for the last... I mean, Clash at the Castle was 3 years ago against Gunther. That's
Probably.
insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So get the friggin'
That's
title
crazy.
on this man.
Yeah. I mean, he's not winning at SummerSlam because Finn Balor's leaving with the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam.
I don't think so.
Just
I don't
saying.
think it's...
I do.
You,
I do.
Ma'am, this is Triple H we're talking about. Theory and Waller are still not split up. And it's been 2 years. They are not splitting up Finn Balor.
They're fantastic together. They should be split up. Theory
They have been
Waller
teasing the split
perfect.
up. They have been teasing the split up for almost 2 years.
Well, you and I have been teasing our split up since we met. And here we are, all these years later, having
Divorced.
a wrestling podcast.
Yeah, divorced.
We are divorced. We are divorced, yes.
Ageism and women's wrestling. I give you the floor here.
Yes. I appreciate it. So, like I mentioned, people all over the Twitter sphere have been talking about how Alexa Bliss is being left off the card, is being left off after having the biggest pops of anyone's career of all time. And as soon as she finally gets an opportunity, somebody decides to say, oh yeah, give it to the old lady. When, like I said, youngest woman in the match, but I digress. People just hate to see women succeed. I'm sick and tired of the hypocrisy and the bullshit that is the IWC. They're all idiots, and I try to limit my time on Twitter, especially because of the idiots that are there. Now, I have 2 direct quotes. I believe it was after that tweeting all happened, maybe it was even after... Oh, no, this was also going back to the releases. That's what this one was touching on. So many women were released because they are getting older in their years. Dakota Kai somehow is 37 when she looks 21. Don't get it. But people are talking about how they released her and Shayna Baszler and a lot of other women that are up in their years because they're nearing the end of their career. Meanwhile, they bring in brand new Chef Cobb. They have LA Knight. They have Damian Priest. They have so many other male superstars like Finn Balor, probably Drew McIntyre, and a lot of other... I mean, John Cena, for Pete's sake. He's the GOAT, don't get me wrong, but all these men that are in the later years and nearing the end of their career.
And
they're
also,
not being viewed the same way that the women are. Yes.
Tying right into the Becky Lynch promo she just cut, which I loved, where she called out Seth Rollins, of all people, saying people are hating on her for being old when you have men like Seth Rollins and CM Punk in the main event scene of Raw, and nobody talks about their ages, and they're older than she is.
I love her so much because she's so fucking real that she'll call out her own damn husband. Fucking pop off, Becky. That woman right there just proving once again why she is the man, she is the main event, and she is the women's division. Thank you, Becky Lynch, and thank you, August, for bringing that up because I had completely forgotten to write that down. I appreciate you so much. That is such an important thing to bring up with this topic. Becky Lynch, oh my god. Also, how many mothers we have on the roster, women having a family, and still being able to come back and wrestle, that's never been done before. And it is, I mean, obviously, like, Asuka, Mickie James, back almost 10 years ago. That's insane. But how that has begun with this women's evolution, and it's so beautiful to see. Now, people talking about women who are in their mid to late 30s being at the end of their career. I have a direct quote here from Big E. This was fresh off of the releases, and he said, and I quote, "The way we talk about age with the women and the way we talk about age with the men, and for a lot of women who are in their late 30s, it's, oh, you're winding down. When are you ready to get out? But look, it feels like 75% of the male side is 38, 39, 40, 45. And he talked about how it was just celebrated that Randy Orton said he wants to do another 10 years of wrestling before he hangs up his boots. Randy Orton wanting to do another 10 years of wrestling was being celebrated by everyone in the back, everyone online, all of the fans in the arena, everyone during the panel. So let's give the women the same honor and the same grace as well. Shout out Big E. He is always touching on the important subjects. I love him. I'm so thankful that he said it. I also have a very important quote from Rhea Ripley. She tweeted this after the Alexa Bliss deal, where she was called Old Lady, being the youngest in the match. Women's wrestling fan. Women deserve better. Same breath. She's sleeping with her boss, and that's why she's where she is. She should retire. She doesn't deserve it. She's handed everything and never worked for anything. I hope she gets injured. You guys are the real reason it's so difficult to be taken seriously as a women's wrestler. If you put as much effort into your own miserable lives as you put into degrading successful women, then maybe you would accomplish something yourself. Period. I am sick and tired of everybody always talking about women's appearance, women's age, and just and automatically stereotyping women's matches as the bathroom break. I'm looking at you, Tony Hinchcliffe. I'm also looking at the guy who sat next to me at WrestleMania, not my husband, obviously, he would never, but the old man sitting next to me during any women's match looking at me and saying, yeah, I like the other girl better. She's a lot better looking. Oh, I liked Mickie James. She had a fat ass. Oh, I liked Michelle McCool. She was really pretty and had long legs. Like, it's absolutely disgusting that you can look at me as a woman and expect me to think that that is okay to say. Like, some people just need to get smacked in the face, which is why I am a huge advocate for wrestlers smacking fans in the face. It needs to happen more. All of y'all need to check yourself before you send that tweet about a male or female wrestler.
Or before you do a meet and greet and try to forcibly kiss Soraya/Paige on the mouth.
Literally. Stop sending mail to people's personal home addresses. Stop showing up at their personal home addresses. Stop acting like you are owed something at meet and greets. Hell, Stone Cold Steve Austin had a meet and greet where all you did was shake his hand, get a picture, and walk away. You got 3 seconds with the man. Nobody batted an eye. Nobody complained. They're like, oh yeah, that's just what you do at a meet and greet. I'm sure those were $300 tickets a pop. I can guarantee. Nobody complained. 3 seconds with a superstar and a photo? Nothing. But if a female wrestler doesn't full on make out with you, then they're not appreciative. Then they aren't giving back to the fans the way that they should. Y'all need to check yourselves before you wreck yourselves. I'm sick to death of all of this negativity surrounding women that is rooted in sexism and specifically in this conversation, ageism. Sit your asses down, look in the mirror, and think about what you are doing at your age. And think about what they have done regardless of their age. They are WWE superstars, damn it. Put some respect on their name, because that's fucking hard. And you could never, with your teeny tiny fingers and your stupid little keyboard.
So, I will say in response to that I have my fingers crossed that in 10 to 15 years, the women's ageism isn't going to be nearly as bad as it is today. I think a byproduct of a lot of that has been alleviated in the sense of the big issue with women's wrestling was there wasn't anything for women to do beyond the world title. That was it. There was the Divas title, there was the women's championship, and that was it. And you look at stars like Trish Stratus, who she became a 7-time women's champion and then retired because what's next? Become an 8-time women's champion, a 9 times women's champion, and at that point she was being hated because she was holding everybody else down. There was nobody else allowed to go to the top of the card because it was Trish. It was all Trish. And I love Trish. So that always pissed me off. But now women have their own Royal Rumble. They have a United States, an Intercontinental, 2 world titles. They have the tag team titles. They have a Money in the Bank. So there are now opportunities for women to exist outside. And not only that, but for the first time in, 20 years, or arguably ever, we have had a singles match at WrestleMania that does not involve a sexy time stipulation or a title involved. It was just 2 women in a blood feud that got a match at WrestleMania, which has not happened in so long. So the fact that women are now starting to get these opportunities to shine outside of a world title picture hopefully will alleviate some of the tension here with this, and that we won't but there's still that stigma around because we've had the Women's Royal Rumble for the past 8 years, not 7 years, 8 years. And there's still that stigma. And so I think that's going to last for a while, but I think we can kind of start phasing out of that. And it's going to take some time because of all of the old fans who are used to, you look at Charlotte Flair, what does she have left to do? She's a 14-time, technically a 16-time world champion. She's won 2 Royal Rumbles. What does she have left to do? Well, she's never been Intercontinental Champion. She's never been Miss Money in the Bank. Women couldn't have Hell in a Cell matches, couldn't have steel cage matches. They couldn't do any of the stipulation matches, and now we can do that. Women have the opportunity to say, man, I want to win a Hell in a Cell match. I want to main event a pay-per-view. Women have these goals that are now realistic. And they should have always been realistic, but because of the people in charge, they were like, nah, that's a joke. You can't even main event Monday Night Raw. It was almost 10 years of wrestling before women got the chance to main event Monday Night Raw. It was 9 years in.
Trish.
Yeah, Lita and Trish, which was a phenomenal match. Lita almost broke her fucking neck,
good.
By the way.
Broke her freaking neck.
Crazy.
Insane.
But I fingers crossed that does alleviate some of that pressure, but the ageism is insane for women in wrestling. I am very ageist. I will say that. Mine is not particular to the women's division. I'll say that with men as well, all the time.
Yes, he will.
But it ultimately comes down to the fact of, as I always talk about, how long. I still think you can utilize these stars. Just because Becky Lynch is 38 years old doesn't mean she's worthless. Becky Lynch is a made woman. If you're looking at Becky Lynch and saying they need to get rid of her, you're stupid. I'm sorry, you're stupid.
Stupid idiot.
It makes a little more sense if you say that about somebody who has no credibility built behind them. But a superstar like Dakota Kai, I made that argument last week or the week before when we talked on the podcast, how she still has so much left to offer. Yes, she's not a main event woman, and she will probably never reach that status, especially now. But not every woman has to be a main event status. She is a character that the audience can connect with in a different way than other characters on the roster, and you still need that. And saying goodbye to that just because somebody's 37 is fucking stupid. So, yeah, I am ageist. I am guilty of this, though.
But I just want to say thank you, because obviously this is a very sensitive topic for me, and it is very much rooted in a lot of things, obviously, as a 27-year-old woman. But I want to say thank you for pointing out all of the positives and how much there is to look forward to, and all of the good that has come out of this women's evolution, and especially in these last couple of years, and all of the changes that have been made. Because when I started watching, women's careers were on average 6 years, and that was it. And if you were a mom, you couldn't come back. You didn't come back. And women weren't having stipulation matches. Women did not have a Royal Rumble or a Money in the Bank or anything like that. And also in WWE, I believe it was WWE 2K14 or maybe it was WWE 13, there were 6, maybe 7 women in the game. And this year there are over 75. So to go from 1 championship and 7 women to 6 main roster titles and then the others of the past and NXT and 75 women. It's pretty fucking amazing.
It just really sucks. Destiny pointing out the fact that the average women's career was 6 years. Because you don't you don't really realize that. And like, I'm Googling several women's ages and it's fucking mind-blowing. Molly Holly is younger than John Cena right now. I wanted to point that out. Mickie James is younger than John Cena. Melina Perez is younger than John Cena. These are women who are wrestling back in 2004, 2005. Molly Holly since like 2000s. And they could still be wrestling today, but because of the stigma around women in wrestling, think about how much better the wrestling division would be for women if we still had these women around today who are younger than your current WWE champion. Kelly fucking Kelly, by the way,
literally
is 15 years. She is 15 days older than Becky Lynch. That's 15 days. 15 days older than Becky Lynch.
Y'all, I think that's something we need to talk about is all of these women that did have 6-year careers, what they could have accomplished if they had been able and been given the opportunity to stay longer than that. If Trish Stratus was around for longer than 6 years, if Kelly Kelly was around for longer than 6 years, if Eve Torres was around for longer than 6-ish years, whatever she was around for. I am just spitballing right now because I know that Kelly and Trish had those 6-ish year careers.
And
it's
to
just
put
so
this
mind-boggling.
in perspective for you, Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestled his first match in 1989. If he had wrestled his last match in 1995, we would have never gotten Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho wrestled his first match in 1990. He would have just been debuting in that era on Nitro when he would have left. So this is, yeah, these women weren't absolutely crazy in-ring competitive and amazing, but that's because they were at that stage of 6 years in their career. They hadn't even begun to really understand the deeper aspects of wrestling that you don't get until you're 10, 12 years into a career. Insane. All the stuff that we've missed out on.
Because Kelly Kelly retired when she was 25. Can you imagine if we had gotten another 10 years of Kelly Kelly? She is the reason that I got so into wrestling. She was for a very long time my favorite diva/female superstar of all time. I love that woman with my whole heart, and I was heartbroken when she got released. Now, obviously, she has been open that the reason she was released was because she wanted to pursue other opportunities, and they said, we're going to release you, but the door's always open. She came back for Royal Rumbles and a 24/7 title appearance. That's it. Can you imagine how much more we could have gotten if she had been given the proper opportunity, if there were more titles around, if there were more things to accomplish? It's insane. And especially her era of women.
If you weren't there for Kelly Kelly, she debuted and she was an exotic dancer and she was, I love her. She was great. She was a dreamboat for friggin' 7-8-year-old me. But when
she was 19.
When she started actually wrestling, she was literally named Most Improved Superstar of the Year for 2008, 2009, somewhere around there, and she deserved it. You could see her getting better week by week. I firmly believe had she not retired at 25, had she not been surrounded by the shittiest people in the world, and she actually got nourished to have a full career, she would be one of the greatest ever. Not greatest women ever, one of the greatest ever. You do not realize how amazing she became nearly overnight. Insane. Also insane. This is a quick side thing. Stone Cold Steve Austin's first match on Raw, who was it against?
It was someone like the Godfather or Pedro Morales, or that's not correct at all, but like,
Pedro Morales is wild. You're never gonna guess this name. I could give you 6 years.
Savio Vega, Perry Saturn,
Matt fucking Hardy.
I'm out of here. I'm fucking out of here.
January 15th, 1996. Steve Austin's first match at WWE was against Matt Hardy. That'll fuck with you. That's crazy. Oh, okay. Well, probably the ringmaster and not the jobber known as Matthias Hardy. Although I just scrolled down and all the comments are just all broken Matt references, like, Master of Rings, I knew you'd come. Brother Nero would like to join you for a celebration with the Wisers of Steve's.
No, that's so bad. No.
Let's celebrate. Oh, this is the best one. This is the best one. Let's celebrate and open a can of ass whoop. Ass whoop's amazing. Yeah, this is great.
Speaking of the funniest things we've ever heard, I'm gonna tell my story. I'm sorry. I was scrolling through Twitter and I came upon a tribute to the one and only Sabu, and it was his AEW debut. And the video starts out, you have the Undisputed Era and JAS in the ring together. There's like a contract signing, and the very first words in the video are, "Who's crazier than the Jericho Appreciation Society?" The way that I started to cry, what the hell do you mean, Jericho? Who's crazier than the Jericho Appreciation Society? Those words to be uttered in a string as a sentence is just baffling. And then, of course, Adam Cole follows up with homicidal, suicidal, genocidal. He is Sabu, and it was beautiful. It was brilliant, and I loved it. But the way that I was in tears. Because you know how Jericho delivers a line?
Oh, yeah.
It was beautiful.
So, if you want to hear our Saturday night's main event redictions, not predictions, redictions, because I spelled it wrong, but I'm going to roll with it. If you want to hear these, too bad. You don't get to hear them today. You're going to have to wait till Friday, the night before Saturday, in case you didn't know. Little math for you there. And you'll get a mini little upload there, all in itself. So look forward to that upload on Friday for a mini pod Saturday night main event redictions. However, Miss Destiny Diamond, wrestling hot takes, I hope you have yours ready. We said we're doing a new segment. I'm setting a 3-minute timer, and we are going to take turns. Destiny, you have 3 minutes. This is a maximum. She can say her piece in 3 seconds if she wants to. But she has a maximum of 3 minutes to state a hot take for wrestling that you can either agree or disagree with in the comments below. So let me know when you are ready, and I'll give you a countdown.
Lay it on me, August. I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
My hot take might not be controversial, but it damn sure is piping, because the Undertaker's streak should not have been beaten by Brock fucking Lesnar. Now, I had the honor of attending WrestleMania 30. It was my Make-A-Wish, and this was my dream match. This was the match that I personally was most excited to see going into WrestleMania 30, and it was also my dream match that I was excited to see just as a fan in general, especially after everything that happened earlier in their career and everything that happened with that UFC face-off and whatnot. So, going into it, I was talking to my friend Jade, and we were talking, and she's like, you don't think The Undertaker's streak's gonna end, do you? And I was like, fuck no. Not at all. The Undertaker streak will never end, number one. Number two, they're not going to give it to a part-timer if they're going to end it. Why would they give it to a part-timer who doesn't need it? Everybody has always said that this should be used to elevate someone's career. Lesnar was a made man. Lesnar was already a WrestleMania main eventer. Lesnar was the biggest dog in the WWE. He did not need this win. The Undertaker did not need to lose the Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania at this point in time. Now, controversial opinion. I was there. This is a very important moment for me in my life. If the streak had not ended, this match would have been completely forgettable. It was not a good match. No fault to the two performers of themselves, but Undertaker had a major concussion and it just derailed the whole situation, similar to Goldberg and Undertaker. So, it was a stinker of a match, and the only reason that it was memorable is because the streak ended, but it never should have, and I will die on that hill. The streak should have never ended, at least to the hands of Brock fucking Lesnar, a part-timer who didn't need it and didn't deserve it. He's an asshole, and the only reason that they gave it to him is because Paul fucking Heyman is an earworm. I love him. He has the greatest promo of all time, the night after WrestleMania, but The Undertaker should not have lost to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 30.
And time at 1 minute and 59 seconds. Yeah. Hell of a rant there, Miss Destiny Diamond. So, let us know in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree with her sentiment there? Not a very controversial opinion there. However, a very powerful statement made by Miss Destiny Diamond. So sound off down below. Who should have ended the streak? And why should it have totally been Brock Lesnar?
Go fuck yourself.
All right, I am going to go ahead and start the timer for my 3 minutes here in 3, 2, 1. The Fiend versus Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell was damn near perfectly booked, was a phenomenal match from start to finish. The only issue was the number of finishers that Seth Rollins hit on The Fiend. However, the ref stoppage that ended the match, yes, you heard me correctly, the match did not end in disqualification like 80% of the internet fan base thought. The match ended by ref stoppage, not disqualification, and it made perfect sense. It protected both characters and was a genius maneuver that should have worked if the internet wrestling fan base had a fucking collective brain cell to share. It made sense. The Fiend was a strong character who did not need the championship, but since Bray Wyatt was still partially there was still this nice, friendly, wearing a cottonelle button-up shirt Bray Wyatt. He wanted to take that away from Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was coming off one of the hottest streaks of his career as a babyface. He had not one, but 2 victories over Brock Lesnar at major pay-per-view events. And him going into this match and almost turning heel in it by going too far, hitting The Fiend with like 19 curb stomps, and then hitting him in the head with a toolbox, and then threatening to crush his skull with a sledgehammer, in which the ref looked at this moment and said, hey, you've hit him with 19 curb stomps and a tool chest. You have this match won. All you would have to do is pin him. However, it looks like you're not going to try to pin this guy. It looks like you're trying to murder him. I am going to call this match off and say, you won the match, Seth. You could end it at any time, but this man doesn't need to be fucking murdered. And so he stopped the match. Seth Rollins did not get disqualified in Hell in a Cell like I see so many people bitching about. Seth Rollins won because he was so vicious, he was so brutal, The Fiend could not recover and continue to compete in the match. However, once the ref ended the match, The Fiend rose again and attacked Seth Rollins, therefore showing, oh my god, this Fiend guy is fucking crazy, nothing can keep him down, until he met Goldberg. So, I actually really liked the finish of that match. I thought it was really properly done. My only regret is that Seth hit so many curb stomps that made his finisher look weak, and the fact that they booked it again a month later and had Seth Rollins lose his title in a meaningless matchup to The Fiend, when The Fiend should not have cared about the title in the first place, because he was an otherworldly he was an attraction of himself. Why does he need the belt? He doesn't. He's The Fiend. 2 minutes, 44 seconds.
August, I must say, That is a controversial hot take. This is one of the most hated matches across the entire internet of wrestling fans. I can't wait to hear what they have to say about that in the comments below. But I can't say I disagree in any way, shape, or form. And I also have to say, the one collective brain cell was a phenomenal comment, but also, you dingbats, there's no disqualification in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Use your brains for 5 seconds, please and thank you.
So many people were complaining that it ended in DQ. And I was like, it didn't. Otherwise, The Fiend would have won, not Seth. Also, the red lights were dumb. I forgot to mention that. The whole match was shrouded in red lights with a red Hell in a Cell. It was dumb. It was dumb. They did that for a lot of Fiend matches early on. So moving on from hot takes.
I didn't love it.
Wrestling Q&A. We had a big question. Shout out Jacob Michael in the comments below on our last podcast. What are some of your favorite wrestlers outside of WWE? Now, I take this question as not, if you're asking me that today-wise, all of my favorite wrestlers outside of WWE are former WWE. You're looking at Chris Jericho. You're looking at Adam Copeland. You're looking at Christian Cage. So I'm going to take this as, what are some guys who haven't really either been in WWE or who are majorly known outside of it? And Destiny, I'll give that to you kind of first. We can spitball a couple names back and forth here.
This is so hard for me because I have so many developing in my brain. Now, I know that we did say people that haven't touched WWE, but the first, I'm gonna call this one out because this person is so much bigger where they are now than they ever were in WWE.
I think that's fair.
And I have to bring up Toni Storm. This woman is the reason that I tune into AEW at all anymore. This woman is absolutely phenomenal, and she has reinvigorated herself and reinvented herself in a way that nobody could have saw coming, and I think we do have the Queen of the Ring movie to help, to credit for that. But everything that she's doing, everything that she's saying, everything that she is, she's just so entertaining, and she's phenomenal. She's phenomenal in the ring. But her catchphrases, tits up.
Watch for the shoe.
Watch for the shoe. Sorry, I did chin. It's chin up, tits out. Watch for the shoe. I had them reversed. I apologize. And also, this hole you all adore. This slut you can't rebut, and all that other stuff that she rambles in her promos is just so beautiful. And I love how it's just so beautifully done, and her butler in the black and white, and the way that commentary reacts to it, it's just so brilliant. And I love that she had this whole amnesia situation where she became the old Toni Storm and then redeveloped into the Toni Storm that we know and love today. I thought that was a beautiful take on her story, especially after the nonsense that Mariah May put her through. It was so great. Those two have torn it up. It's been amazing. She's definitely my number one currently. And yeah, I absolutely love her.
I agree wholeheartedly with Toni Storm. That was literally words right out of my mouth. Toni Storm, absolutely. Outside of anybody WWE, Toni has to be number one. Toni Storm reinvented and reinvigorated her entire career, and she's doing... Essentially, she's like the current day version of what Broken Matt Hardy did, where she just invented a whole new aspect of what wrestling could be as a character, and has made it work for herself. I absolutely love that for her, and she's done some very wonderful, wonderful things. Another name that has kind of reinvigorated their career outside of WWE, they made a name for themselves beforehand, kind of on the indies, did a bit of a stint in WWE, and then left. Two names here that kind of come to mind. I really love Big Bill, formerly known as Big Cass. I think he's a hell of an athlete. I really wish him and Enzo, they had a mini reunion on the Jericho Cruise this year. I'm pretty sure it was where they reunionized. That's not a right word. But I love Big Bill. Also,
I love you.
Pac. I loved Neville so much. I wish they would be doing more with him right now. but the amount of talent that man has and the lack of
Oh,
opportunity he has is insane.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Pac recently had another injury, and it's somewhat similar to his ankle injury that he suffered in WWE all those years ago on that Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania 32. I think it was against Chris Jericho, actually. Funny enough that we say that. But yeah, I think it was like within the last month that he had another ankle situation happen, if I'm not mistaken. And he had recently come back from an injury anyway, or at least a hiatus.
Yeah, I also do. I'm a pretty big MJF fan. Not as much his
Oh,
recent
yes!
things, but MJF pretty
Yeah.
much from his debut until his feud with Adam Cole. Um, I'm not an Adam Cole fan. I'll be honest with you.
I can't talk to you right now because you're being ridiculous. But I have to touch on MJF as well. He was one of the guys that drew my eye to AEW when it first started. He was what got me excited because of course you have the incredible talent that is Cody Rhodes, and you have the legend in Chris Jericho, and you have the Young Bucks and the rest of the Elite and the Bullet Club and everyone that was coming in alongside them. But MJF was the first new face that I saw that I wasn't as familiar with when this all started. I had heard of him, of course. I had seen some of his work. But seeing him at that press conference where they announced the creation of All Elite Wrestling, I was immediately hooked. He just drew me in, and he is the perfect heel that doesn't exist in wrestling nowadays. He's not afraid to go too far. He will push the envelope. He will pour a drink on a child. He will spit in his mother's face. He's not afraid to do what you're not supposed to do and say what you're not supposed to say. I mean, this man is such a perfect villain. He's phenomenal. Everything he did with Adam Cole was phenomenal, and I am so heartbroken that Adam injured his ankle so severely because they were supposed to have a tag team match together at Wrestle Dream, and I was there in 2023. And unfortunately, I missed out on Adam Cole, but fortunately, I got to see MJF, and that was amazing. I mean, I literally went to the pay-per-view wearing a Better Than You Bay Bay shirt. And like it was I literally rocked MJF, and then when I went to Wrestle Dream in 2024, I was there for the return of MJF, thank God, because that man is my man. He has been my guy. He's the face of AEW in my eyes. I would love for him to get back to that prominence because I enjoy what he's doing with the Hurt Business right now, but that's not MJF. We need the real MJF to come out, and I want to see so much more from him, and I'm so excited to see what more he has in his career because that man's talent and that man's potential is limitless.
So, something to kind of stew on, Destiny. I will bring this one up to you. We will not answer it this week. Probably next week we will circle back to it. Your top
I only
five.
named one name!
You named multiple names, ma'am. You named Tony Storm. You named MJF. I guess
You named MJF.
I know, but multiple of your names were just agreeing with multiple of my names.
Same with you. You were agreeing with me on Tony Storm.
Yeah, but I'm not the one saying I only named
like
one name. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I shouldn't be saying this.
Yeah.
But I believe in Joe Hendry.
Yeah, no,
That's
I'm
my
muting
guy
her right now. I thought that was going to be the first name you said, but you didn't, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm getting out of here without hearing it.
Tony Storm has just been so phenomenal. I had to do her first. But no, just everything that Joe Hendry has done and the career that he has set himself, the path that he has set himself on through his creativity and through his musicality and everything else that he has to offer the company, whether it's his in-ring talent or his storytelling ability with his little shit-eating grin. I love him so much. His perfect theme music, his perfect everything. He is a much deserving TNA World Heavyweight champion. But something I want to touch on right now is important news that I had texted you about. And it's probably, it has already happened tonight as we're recording this. But on NXT, we're getting a Joe Hendry concert and a Trick Williams rap. And I'm so excited. Like, not that I'm excited to end our conversations, because you know this is the highlight of my week, but the first thing I'm gonna do as soon as we get off this call is look that up, because I love those two so much. They're so wonderful. And if you have watched the concert and rap series on NXT, please comment down below who won in your opinion, Joe Hendry or Trick Willie.
So, do you have any other names you would like to do before I talk about the next part of this question?
No, I had to just get my Joe Hendry in there, but thank you for hearing me.
Of course you did. So a question for you we will answer next week and kind of touch upon your top 5 favorite NXT matches of all time. It's a big one, so I just wanted to put that on your radar, because Destiny's a huge fan of NXT. I've watched a handful of highlights of it. I haven't seen... It's not that I hate NXT. It's that my week is very busy. And before I started doing this podcast, it was rare I would watch a Raw or SmackDown as opposed to watching highlights of it, let alone watching NXT. So, and I'm trying to...
I have 3.
Yeah.
4? I have 4?
What is the most underrated match of all time?
God, I can't even...
I got my answer.
Is that all? So all time, like main roster, most likely.
Everything. It can be NXT if you want it to be NXT, but of all time.
Any underrated one?
Oh, yeah, I can. Seth Rollins versus The Fiend, Hell in a Cell, 2019. You're welcome.
You have yours.
The most underrated match of all time.
I gotta think on that one. Oh my god.
And he also did say... He put in his own hot take here, so thank you, Jacob. Insane levels of commitment here to the podcast.
Doggy.
Hot take here is I never understood the extreme hype behind Jeff Hardy. I'm not saying that Hardy is bad or anything, but I never understood how he could be someone's favorite of all time. What I will say to this is, if you weren't watching wrestling, I don't get it either. I don't get it either at all. However, Jeff Hardy was my favorite. I don't get why. Looking back, I have no idea why I love Jeff Hardy so much. But I remember how much I idolized him. It was Jeff Hardy, Shawn Michaels, and Rob Van Dam. They were like untouchable. They were my gods growing up. And I can't tell you why Jeff Hardy was on that list. I can't even tell you why RVD was on that list. Like, he was great, but I don't understand why I was like, oh my god, it's Rob Van Dam.
You liked guys with long hair and ponytails.
But Jeff Hardy in 2000, when he returned against Edge in his feud with Triple H, his feud with Edge, his feud with Randy Orton, he just had this next level ability to relate to the audience in a way that it was, if you don't understand it, his feud with Umaga is the perfect feud to explain it. He feuded with Umaga over the Intercontinental title, and I believe it's the best matches Jeff Hardy has ever had. Him versus Umaga in the steel cage was incredible. There's a moment where Randy Orton was feuding with him too. He came out during the match, and Jeff was about to escape. He was standing on top of the cage, about ready to start climbing down, and suddenly Randy Orton's there, threatening to like beat the shit out of him. And Jeff Hardy just stands up and does a standing whisper in the wind off the top of the cage onto Umaga, and it was just the most fuck you moment of all time. And it was just things like that where Jeff Hardy was so willing to destroy himself for the benefit of the audience, and it was like his version of flipping off his opponent. I think that's why he's up there.
I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't talk about also him getting speared by Edge in TLC at WrestleMania 17. We also need to touch on his swanton from the top of the trusses, from the top of the Raw set onto a fallen Randy Orton. But my favorite Jeff Hardy moment would have to be after his ladder match on Monday Night Raw with The Undertaker. He obviously lost, but he got on the mic and he said, "You haven't broke me, Taker. I'm still standing." And I think that was the moment that made everybody look at and believe in Jeff Hardy. I think he has something somewhat similar to a Jey Uso, where there are a lot of kids watching Jey Uso right now, like 5 to 9 age range-ish. and Jey Uso is their favorite superstar. And I look at it and I think, why would Jey Uso ever be your favorite superstar? Even like currently or of all time. But he has that special connection with the fans, and I think the only way that a Jey Uso or a Jeff Hardy would be your favorite of all time is if it started at a very young age in the prime of their career, or at least in a very pivotal moment of their career.
And Jeff Hardy was hot as fuck, dog. Let's not
True!
underrate that.
Hello!
So
right?
It was a very unique trait combination of all the kids looked up to him as their hero, all the women were in love with him, and all the men wanted to be him. He hit like all three core bases of the audience in different ways. Because typically, like, you have this amazing ultimate badass who's super cool, but it's like The Undertaker is a perfect example. Like, he's super badass, he's super cool. All the men like, oh, I want to be The Undertaker. But the women are like, that dude's really fucking tall. He's like kind of fucked up. He's got tattoos everywhere. Like, he's not that attractive, right? And then the kids are scared of him.
Kids cry.
Exactly. So it's like, it's hard to hit all three. But Jeff Hardy was just that perfect Goldilocks zone of the men being like, look at this fucking warrior. I wish I had that energy, that passion, that fearlessness. And all the women were like, that dude's hot as fuck, dog. Like, holy shit. And all the kids were like, oh my god, he wears armbands. This guy's cool. So, pretty sick.
And the neon hair and the fishnet shirt.
Oh, it was so good. My armbands. I had homemade armbands. Oh. Final hot take from Jacob. Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano at TakeOver in New York 2019 is the best WWE match of all time. And we will end it there.
Brilliant. You know, funny enough, when I kept saying, oh, I have 3, I have 4, that was one of them. That was one of my first 3 that I thought of. It's so good. It's magnificent. It's amazing, and I love it. I love Adam Cole. I love Johnny Gargano. I love everybody involved. Undisputed Era is my favorite faction of all time. I just can't say enough good about NXT, especially in that era.
I just realized what my next hot take is going to be, and I'm really excited to talk about it because I know it's going to be unpopular. Because you're going to
piss me off.
I don't think it's going to piss you off. I don't think it's going to piss you off. It's. I feel like it's something nobody's talking about, but I feel like they should. All right, but thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for watching. This podcast was a lot of fun today. I had a lot of fun. We talked about a lot of stuff. Be sure you check out Friday's mini episode where we talk about Saturday night's main event. BB, our predictions, and on Saturday I will be live reacting to Saturday night's main event, so you can join. Bring your own copy of it. I will be watching the Canadian Netflix version, so I don't have shitty ads the entire time. It's pretty smart. You're welcome. I'm a genius. You're welcome. Until next time, much love, and drink some Coke Zero if it says sis. If the can says sis. Slay, sis. Slay. Then you're sign off. You're just going to show your shirt.
What else is there to say?
I guess that's fair. Be an organ donor.
Be an organ donor, be sparkly, and someone give me some socks. My feet are freezing.
Okay.
Let's sign off.
Perfect.